and he's a chieftain of the People's the All Progressive Congress, the APC. We also have with us Dr. Emeka Okengu. Dr. Okengu is, beside a politician, a public affairs analyst, and the CEO of Agro-Allied Technologies Resource Center. He is also a chieftain of the Alliance Party. Then we also have Mr. Ayokunle Fagbemi. Ayokunle Fagbemi is the executive director. Ayokunle Fagbemi is the executive director, Center for Peace Building. Excuse me. Center for Peace Building and Socio-Economic Resource Development, CESPAD. We also would have with us Dr. Kach Ononuju, who is the CEO, the CEO for the Heritage Center. He is also a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party. We are also expecting to join us Mr. Shaka Momodu. Mr. Shaka Momodu is the Sunday editor of This Day newspapers, a national daily in the country. Gentlemen, I welcome you all. Ladies and gentlemen, considering that we have eaten deep into the scheduled time, we shall waste no more time but get into the groove and see and hear from our discussants. At this point, I'd like to call on Dr. Emeka Okengu to just give us a brief background of his person, and then we can move on. Dr. Okengu, please. Dr. Okengu, can you hear me?
Thank you very much, Victor. You started by saying that Dr. Okengu is a politician and a public analyst. Those are two definitions I usually will say to people. I don't find what dictionary, you will find them anywhere. I don't think there's anybody who is a politician as it were, and I don't think there's anybody who is a public analyst. But by way of introduction, I have a PhD in development economist. I'm a development specialist. I'm national chairman of Alliance of Social Democrats. If that makes me a politician, in parentheses, well, let's accept I am. But I think it simply presents a platform for us to be able to, seek to put proper governance in our political system. I'm also a farmer, if you may. My Agro and Allied Resources Development Center, we are partnering with the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology to develop centers of excellence across all the political 8,806 political wards in Nigeria. And what we intend to do is to, create a proper platform for inclusive growth. To speak to this very distinguished audience we have, Senator Magnus Abe. Please accept my respects and deep regards. Kunle, my brother, I've known you forever. I hail you. I thank you for coming. Nas Capone, ahoy to you, sir. Well, when you start dealing with topics, I don't know how, as a practical jingle, this would have made, very much sense, when you talk about the topics or the theme of what we're talking about. And I tried to process it, first and foremost by trying to put a definition to what you call epitome. And then against epitome, when I try to, put another word, antithesis. Okay, I tried to see if we can be able to piece, these two parallel words together, epitome and antithesis. Do they mean the same thing? Are they the same thing? And then I also tried to put in this what they call disunity, okay? And then against it, I also put uniformity. Are they the same thing? Do they mean the same thing? Is there a correlation? And then you guys cap it up by now, putting what you call diversity. So we're talking about Nigeria. If you're able to put a meaning to epitome, disunity, antithesis, uniformity, diversity, you might actually put a definition to this, what some people call geographical misconception called Nigeria. And today we're celebrating 60 years of this geographical misconception to some people, of a democracy in progress to some people, of a country that is far gone towards either the right or the left to some people, of a country where there's a lot of nepotism, favoritism, nepotism to some people, and it's a country that is a failed state to some people. But in all these definitions, nobody has been able to put the Nigerian, which is you and I having this conversation, into this mix. And then how we have become part of this epitome, this disunity, this uniformity, this diversity, and this antithesis. I think the greatest challenge we've had as a country is when all of us agreed that it was possible for us to have unity in diversity. And everybody mounts it as Nigerians. Unity in diversity. Oh, something is that we are diverse. Let us find those things and make us different, and then respect them, and then we can have a united country. And I think that is where your antithesis should begin. Okay, because the moment you agree that you're diverse, then you need to give a proper meaning to that diversity before you can be able to do any other thing else, because this is a mindset thing. And I think it is this mindset that has now created, all this brouhaha that we've had, and all this, to some people, cacophony, to some people, a train that has derailed, yet is still moving and picking up passengers, to some people, a country that we're all proud of, especially when we're playing football, and then to some people, a country that all of us must restructure, for us to be able to have a country. Gentlemen, I don't know if there's any lady here. Anas Kapun, the city us belong to would have been able to put a meaning to everything that we've tried to talk about. And to those who are not our members, the kind of acronyms, okay, and the kind of systems that will operate will shock anybody. And there are times, growing up, when somebody comes to your door and then remembers that he doesn't know your name, and then they say, who are you looking for? And he's not able to remember. The only name he's remembering is a name you will tell the person you're looking at, and either you have a fainting or you have a theoretics being played out, and then you appear behind the door, and there's a lot of jumping and hugging and holding hands and taking bags. That is what we've been able to create, because we decided that there was no diversity. There was actually unity, and that unity that was now created, okay, by what we call 4-7 Creed. If this probably was, a purely practical platform, I would have been able to put more flesh into our 4-7 Creed, and then our 7 rudder blades, and people will understand that what I've been able to create in these past 60 years is that you now have gangs that ride into town, and depending on what side of the meat they want to cut, they bring an ideology, and everybody follows it very foolishly in all thinking and talking this thing that we all call unity in diversity. There is no such word. You are either united or you're not. You're either diverse or you're working towards now integration. So if we begin to first and foremost understand the choice of words that we use in defining our country. Today, everybody is shouting, oh, what's the difference between APC and PDP? Everybody who was in APC somehow or the other had a relationship with PDP, and it is all about saving the country. I think that when Senator Abe is going to be making his interventions, he might be able to deal with it, because again, Rivers State, where he comes from, where he's very popular, where his people want him, and somehow that antithesis also played out in his own case. I think, I don't know how true this is. I understand that somebody is doing a master's degree in the life and times of Dino Milaye. I think Senator Magnus Abe presents a better candidate, for a master's degree program, because he epitomizes, he represents in every sense, in every factor, this thing that is wrong with this country we call Nigeria. So first and foremost, I'd like to start. Who is Nigeria? Who is Nigeria? What is Nigeria? What makes you Nigerian? How do we know? What is our battle cry? What is this our national thing? We're trying to build this unified Nigeria. And then there are three schools of thought I think we want to process. One will be what you call our principles, our cultures, our values that now accumulate to now establish what we call our legal regimes. Is there any commonality in our cultural, ethical, value system that can now begin to now develop these principles that we call Nigeria? That is one. Two, somebody is talking about disunity, uniformity, and you're talking about a country where you have two broad legal systems, what you call the penal code, okay, which now operates and protects and allows some people to be able to operate in some certain stance. And then what you call, your legal code or whatever the lawyers call it. That now also your criminal justice system, which is different from your legal code. And this allows in a country where somebody who probably has not gone to law school, ends up as Chief Justice oversighting that criminal aspect of your constitution or your principles and value systems. We're talking about antithetics, gentlemen and ladies. So it's important that in defining Nigeria, let us be able to look at it from where we're coming from. You're talking about a country that has had, between 1953 to 1959, about 6 national conferences that needed to define who we were, how we were going to operate, and how we were going to now interrelate with each other. First, it came with regionalism. And at that level, everybody now agreed that we were different. And then we had what we call the unitary government, where everybody now said, oh, it's only the military that can be able to hold us, together. And then you now had what we call federalism. But Nigeria now became the only country that didn't now practice what we call true federalism. We are talking about antithesis and how we got to where we are. And everybody pretends as if everything is fine, and that is the way he operates. Because in the first place, there is what we call unity in diversity. This is where the problem comes, gentlemen, ladies. Because your legal system is actually who you are. And the moment you're not able to get a justice system that is fair to all, vis-a-vis your statutes, then you have a lot of issues, you have a lot of contentions. And this is what has happened to Nigeria. And that is why every major decision that has disrupted our so-called, and please note the word so-called, okay, national development, national integration, national cohesion, is predicated on this justice system. In this country, an NGO had written a petition. We have a constitution that says that it's only 2/3 of the Senate, I am not a lawyer, I stand to be corrected, that can remove a sitting Chief Justice. We had an NGO, probably not even registered, who wrote a petition to a small, insignificant level B parastatal, not even a ministry. Okay? And a judge sitting in that bureau removed the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and he stood. And he removed him, quoting the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And yet, we as academicians and intellects, we gather together to say, oh, let us talk about epitome of disunity as a basis in uniformity and antithesis to unity in diversity. This sounds very paradoxical. We should be able to, put all the words together and then give it to a young Seadog, because it is very nonsensical, ladies, gentlemen. It is nonsensical in the fact that there is no society where all rule of law is not supreme. That is not a society in chaos. So in finding the solutions to solving the problems of Nigeria, it is to first and foremost define who the Nigerian is. And you cannot define a Nigerian in isolation of the legal frameworks that makes him Nigerian.
Thank you very much, Dr. Okengu.
How many more minutes do I have?
We'll come back to you, sir. Just hold your thoughts. We'll come back to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir. Distinguished Senator Magnus Abe, I'm going to put this question to you. Many people have suggested that restructuring Nigeria to be a true federation will resolve most of its existential challenges. Now, the question is, do you agree with this position? If you say you do agree with the position, why then? And if you do not agree, why?
Well, first of all, let me use this opportunity to extend my very warm greetings of our independence anniversary to all participants at this very unique gathering. And to say that I wish you all a very happy Independence Day celebration, despite whatever challenges that the country may have. It is still our country. Dr. Emeka brought out a lot of issues in his introductory remarks, and I believe that that will give all of us a lot of food for thought. But going back to the question you have asked, which is whether I agree with restructuring or not. I think that restructuring as a word has become very, very contentious in this country. And anytime you mention restructuring, a lot of people simply either go up in arms or they go up in amazement or surprise or whatever. Or some people are just totally negative to whatever they think that means. I think that before we talk about whether one is in support of restructuring or not, there are certain fundamental issues that we need to discuss. I would say that the word restructuring had become very contentious in this country because it means different things to different people. If you go into the nitty-gritty of it and begin to ask each individual what he or she understands by restructuring, you actually find out that if you talk to 10 different Nigerians, you get 10 different understandings of restructuring. But I think the fundamental thing that we all need to understand and appreciate is that Nigeria is our country. And a lot of times you hear people say that Nigeria is indivisible, one indivisible country. No, I don't subscribe to that. In fact, when we had a meeting of the South-South leaders in Calabar, where we drafted what is today referred to as the Calabar Declaration. I was part of a committee that was to draft the declaration, and I was asked to write. And when I started writing, the first thing I wrote was that we agree and ascribe to the fact that Nigeria will be one indivisible country, one united and indivisible country. And Prince Tony Momo, I will never forget that, said, no, Magnus, take out that indivisible there. He said the only thing that all human beings have held to be indivisible was the atom. And even the atom has been split. So there is nothing in life that can be divided that is indivisible. So the point I'm trying to make is that Nigeria is not indivisible, but it is undivided. And therefore, the unity of our country is fragile. And it is everybody's responsibility as a citizen to work to uphold that unity. We can't just be mounting indivisible. No, Nigeria is divisible. If it does not work, it will break. So how do we make it work? I think that at the core of whatever we're discussing today is that question. Second thing I would like to say is that no nation is entirely organic. every nation that exists today on earth is a concept that was designed by people, put together by people, nurtured by people, built by people. And so also is Nigeria. We keep discussing Nigeria from the abstract point that since it was put together by the British, somehow it will not meet our own needs and requirements. And a lot of times when people talk about this restructuring, they talk from the premise that, okay, we didn't come together to put this together, so now we now have to put it together. But if you look across this world, all the countries that are working, Germany, Japan, America, even the United Kingdom, all of them have their history, somehow how they came together, how they were put together. And none of them were totally organic. They were all concepts that were brought together, and through the sacrifice and contribution and dedication of their citizens, they were able to build that concept into countries that deliver on the expectation of our citizens. And I think that the challenge facing Nigeria today and facing our own generation is, how do we make Nigeria work for Nigerians? The unity of Nigeria is not an abstract concept. It's not something that is going to happen regardless of what we do. It is something that has to be built, created, that has to be worked on. If we agree that we need a united Nigeria, the challenge to all of us becomes, how do we make Nigeria united? What are the steps that we need to take to make Nigeria united? It is in the context of that conversation that you can now talk about restructuring or not restructuring or whatever else you want to say. But you have to set the targets that we believe will make our country work for us. And if unity, integration is one of those targets, then we must have a discussion and have a game plan of how we're able to work to build that unity. So in the context of that Nigerians agree that we need to build a united Nigeria, then when you talk of whatever word you use to describe the process by which we build a united Nigeria, whether you call it restructuring, whether you call it whatever you call it, then it becomes something that everybody must be prepared to look at and listen to and have a conversation around, because we have all agreed that Nigeria must be united, must be integrated. So like Dr. Emeka was talking about, he talked about what you people were able to do amongst yourself as Seadogs, as pirates. You built unity. It didn't happen by accident. A lot of hard work goes into whatever is important that people need to achieve. I believe that I will not say I'm in support of restructuring or I'm against restructuring, but I will say that I believe that Nigeria, whatever its origins, as an inheritance that we have, can be built into a nation that will work for the majority of her citizens. I believe that part of the ways we can achieve that objective is for us to unite, to come together and build unity within our country. So I believe that whatever leads to the achievement of that target, however you choose to call it, whether you call it restructuring or whether you call it, I don't care what you call it, but a conversation needs to hold in this country as to how we can build unity in our country and make this country work for the majority of the citizens all the time. Having said that, I also want to say that, yes, like I said at the beginning, Nigeria is not indivisible, but Nigeria is undivided, and it will remain undivided as long as the majority of the citizens of this country believes that this is a country that serves their purposes and produces for them, in terms of their own quality of life, the expectations of themselves and their children in a way that no other construct can produce for them. So we need to begin a conversation as how we get that level of commitment from the majority of Nigerians. It cannot be done without having a conversation around it. So if that is what you mean by restructuring, yes, I want to say that I subscribe to the fact that we need to have a conversation about building a better Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, distinguished Senator Abbey. Ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, I'd like to welcome to us, amongst us, Dr. Kach Ononuju. He has just joined us. Doctor, you're most welcome, sir. Okay, going forward, Mr. Ayo Kunle Fagbemi, I'd like to pose this question to you. In an attempt to bet a new united Nigeria, where equity, merit, and justice rule over nepotism, favoritism, and such likes, the federal government of the country established the Federal Character Commission. Would you now say that the creation of this commission has resolved the mutual distrust amongst the federating units of the country, or only strengthened it?
Thank you very much for having me, and I want to join a maker and distinct. Most times when we handle discourses like this, we are very quick to want to have a binary framework to analyze the issues. And that was what informed my suggestion to you the moment you contacted me that the theme for this event was going to be beyond the Colonial Union, building unity and equity in fractured Nigeria. I drew your attention to the fact that we needed to discuss the sub-theme in clarity. But the choice of that framework of this unity in uniformity as antithesis to unity in diversity is hinged on the fact that we are too focused on the binary discourses. And what do I mean by the binary discourses? You want to find out if you are for something or against it. And that is not the real crux of the matter. The real crux of the matter, whenever you have situations like these, that you want to discuss the federal character, which is dealing essentially with the diversity of our heterogeneous nature and character, you will discover that it is simply because ab initio, we have made a major mistake in Nigeria, that we are renowned for wanting to discuss issues and say that the level at which those who participate in governance and provide governance oversight on the heterogeneous community, the minimum requirement for them is the ordinary school certification, which in itself is not that they have passed, but they have just merely attempted it. So if you are now asking those of us who are scholars to interrogate the issue of federal character, you will ask yourself, when they do bring up the nature and character of that discourse onto the table, are we talking in terms of merit or not? More often than not, we are not interested in merit, and that is how you will end up with the kind of person that is now the incumbent as the Chief Justice of Nigeria. That is how you will end up with the dynamics of what we are now discussing in terms of the new appointed person that is in charge of the Institute of Advanced Legal Studies, not necessarily being a person that has been called to the bar. And then you want me to, as a security student, you want me to discuss in terms of the nature and character of the security architecture, defense management that we now have, which the last publication that is now making the rounds in the media is explaining to us that the State Security Service has now done a recruitment that is skewed. Interestingly, when you therefore are interrogating all these issues, the moment you stay at the level of the binary of, say, you are either for or against, you miss the point. I don't want us to begin to look at it just merely from missing that point. When you say federal character, you are saying you want to have a spread. Are you bringing your best 11 from those communities to the table, or you are just imposing people on us? And when you do impose people on us, what are the implications of the imposition? When you finish the imposition, what are the dynamics of the imposition on the organic whole? A good example, when you want to play football for Nigeria, we don't use federal character to constitute our team. Even when you have the spread, you will discover that it is the most qualified person that is on the field. I always want to laugh in Awori or TV or Kadara or Bauchi dialects of Nigeria when we are discussing our issue of the unity and uniformity. Since you want me to discuss this federal character issue, and I want to stay at the level of the security discourse, you will discover that every now and then you have a unitary command using the police, but at the same time they are willing to regionalize and regionalize the police force by having zonal commands, state commands, area commands, divisional commands. But when it comes to the subject of you interrogating the operations of the triad of policing, wherein you are supposed to have the informal and self-help nature of the component, they do not want you to harness your resources, and that is why they were against Amotekun. Then let me go back to the issue of the federal character as it dovetails into the name and nomenclature that are usually given to some of the operations of the military. When you are having operations in the Northeast that is renowned for insurgency, they are going to use, and they have been using, the name Operation Peace. But when they are going to Zamfara, where they're having cattle rustling and the dynamics of such things, they are talking in terms of Operation Crackdown, Operation Gamma Ike, and then Adarin Daji. But the moment they are moving towards the middle belt, you now start having the nomenclature changing to Operation Wild Stroke, Operation Wild Punch, and then Operation Python Dance or Crocodile Smile. This in itself is antithetic to the unity that we say we do have. And you note that in the security and military operations of the Nigerian state and the architecture, it is unitary. Meanwhile, in that uniformity that they are supposed to have, they still have disunity. And that is what we are supposed to try to interrogate. And I'm hoping that hopefully that when we are able to bring many more people that can do complex analysis onto the table to discuss issues, and we refrain from the binary approaches, we will stop seeing the negatives that we are seeing manifest. Federal character has only complicated our problems, because in the attempt to say you want to unify the state by bringing everybody to the table, you have created a supra class and not just a super class, and you have created another oligarchic setting, which, if we are not careful, in some years to come, we will be having a major crisis of we day. And when we are going to have the we day, especially now that we are seeing that the employment and the ascension using the federal character has not been favorable, will create much more serious challenges. And when we are going to have the insurrection, the revolution, there will be no arrowhead, because already the Nigerian Labour Congress has lost the capacity to do the needful of providing leadership. They have been clamped down, There have been censorship of the media. There have been unnecessary conscription and conscription of the space. We cannot continue this way. We must begin to interrogate issues holistically, and we can only do that using the octagonal framework of discourse and analysis. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fagbemi. That's very insightful. Dr. Kach, you're welcome. I'd like to put this to you. Recently, the Vice President of the country, Osibajo, alluded to the fact that if we are not careful, we will see a Nigeria that's breaking up, and that has been in the news for a few days and elicited all kinds of reactions. Now, the question I want to put to you, Dr. Kach, is: do you think that the cultural differences of the federated units of the country is the reason that, as a nation, we are unable to birth a truly united nation?
No. Thank you very much for this lecture. Thank you also for choosing to address these very, very fundamental issues. I heard what the Vice President said, and I think the Vice President was very polite. He was simply telling the President that what the President and the irredentists around him are doing is putting pressure on the Union. You saw the other day, President Obasanjo wrote saying the same thing, that the President's ways is putting pressure on the Union. Now, there is no beating about the bush. What we see, and the reasons why the Vice President sees that, is he had seen an intention of an irredentive movement to actually ethnically cleanse other ethnicities of one, as I spoke last with the USAID and the Heritage Center, which I am its Director General. I went to Zamfara, Kasiri plan of ethnic cleansing of core houses of the states. So Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, and Kano. Only Kano was not being attacked. So there was actually a well-orchestrated arrangement to cleanse the houses of Katsina, Zamfara, and Sokoto so that they can move into Kano. And in all this happening, the government seemed to have advised the security services to stay hands. And that's why you saw the Vice President's information was precise. Apart from that, if you come into the para-government parastatals and institutions, you also see a strategy to cleanse people of other ethnicities of the top commanding heights of this particular, of those different parastatals and national institutions. And when you now see who is it that actually is getting the advantage, you see the Fulani ethnic group. And the Vice President's words were true. President Obasanjo's words were true. And you see, it's not proper that we start mincing words when things have gone bad. Because why? The country is exactly at the same place where the Central African Republic was a decade ago. So I don't, it's had to do with the North. It had nothing to do with Islam. No, it's not culture. It is actually an ethnic abuse. Look, in the North here, now we know that they cleanse in indigenous people of their villages. They now stay in IDP camps. And of course, you see, to return the indigenous people back to their ancestral lands. And that you can see people are set on him. And that's what I also say. You see the same thing in Plateau State. You see the same pattern all across the places where people are cleansed. Instead of returning them back to their land, you are seeing Fulani refugees who left Mali because in 2011, there was a crisis in Mali between the Dogon and the Fulani in central Mali. And then by 2015, there was a peace agreement settled. Now, instead of the leaders to come together to make sure that the implementation of that negotiation was properly implemented, they all abandoned Mali to its fate. Just like the Central African Republic, where you also had crisis between the Fulani and the ethnicities. So the Fulanis were moved out of that, and that was why you saw pressure on Benue State. By the time President Buhari came, the Mali crisis had already started, and then there was a peace agreement. When I read privately to people, they say, let him go and work with the other leaders across the region to make sure that that 2015 agreement was well negotiated so that the refugees can stay back in their country. No, what President Buhari started doing was started suggesting grazing reserves. Grazing reserve will have created colonies of those refugees scattered all over the country, and that would have done what? It will have altered demographics, and that would have brought crisis, because all of us are very, very emotional about land. Now you can see about this same issue too, about the water bill. Senator Magnus Abe comes from a place where I was born. He is from River State. And I know Senator Magnus Abe, his place share is always not even up to 2 kilometers from the water. But the water bill was seeking to put Senator Magnus Abe's village in federal hands, abrogating the Land Use Act. Who was doing this? These were also strategies by Fulani leaders, 3 Fulani legislatures trying to bring this. Take that away, undermine the Land Use Act, and that would have been crisis. So after we have all gone around, and you saw how these things are, and then the political shifts, the speaker was convinced that it was time to pull that, and that was why 2 days ago that was pulled. What am I saying this? If you look at all these crises, the crisis why the Yorubas form Amoteku, the reasons why there is crisis in Taraba forcing the Wurukum, the Jukun, the Kaka, the Pansa, the Chamba, the Kutek, all to come together, it was still to fend off the Fulani. The crisis in Benue that has gotten both the Doma, the Igede, the Agatu, and the TV together, it is to fend off the Fulani. So why do we have this Fulani crisis? So let us not start playing games and speaking good grammar. If we have the Fulani crisis in the crisis, we face that Fulani crisis in the country and tell the president and the Fulani leaders around him that because of their actions, Nigeria today is the 2nd most terrorized nation on earth. Let's not use grammar to confuse it. We have a Fulani problem on our hand, and our president is not only employing nepotism as policy, he is also employing robust ethnic cleansing. Not only people are being cleansed of their ancestral lands, Coach Shemi Adesina the other day on television said, it's either they give up their ancestral land, it's better for them to die, to give up those lands than die. It is a problem. So why do we have this? Why do we run away from it? Why do I see houses being cleansed of their lands in Maru, in Anka, in Dangobe, in Kwaterakwashi, in Musa, in places like Basari, in areas like Kankara, in Sapana? And then why do we have this and people keep quiet? Why don't we address these issues the way it is? When the Yoruba saw into what was going on and they started forming a Amoteku, why do we keep quiet? Tell the president what you and the Fulani leaders are doing has forced upon this country, and a new resolve by several ethnicities to say they want to go their own ways. So don't start discussing this as if it's a grammatical. No, it's not an intellectual issue. We have an active strategy by a particular ethnicity to actually now not only envelop the country, but subjugate the country. So we need to treat that issue that way. We have a Fulani problem. If we could have gotten President Buhari to work with other leaders to make sure the 2015 peace agreement was properly implemented in Mali, there would be no pressure on him to start looking for land. You can see in Kaduna, they have to kill to remove the Idara, remove the Bagi of their land for them to get land. Look at in Plateau, they are still killing as I'm talking to you right now in Mangu. 58 villages belonging to bureaus and cleansed, and as the bureaus are in IDP camps, Fulani from Mali are occupying those camps. This is the problem we have. Why don't we tell them the truth? Zulu is doing what he's doing, they want to take him out. If now Governor Dalong starts to do the same problem, try to restore back those IDPs back to their villages, that means what? They will start targeting Governor Dalong. If to stop using ethnic cleansing as a way to seize land, all he's trying to do is simply want to play himself a new Fulani champion. And that's why you see most of us right now in politics, we say, no, we don't think a Fulani leader is what we need again after Buhari. Don't forget, people like Atiku, who were in my party, and Tambuwal left PDP, went to APC, and then to Express Buhari. Buhari has finished 8 years. And they are also wanting now to come through PDP. We do not want to do it anymore. We want our own country. And that is the reason why the word of the vice president is true. Blessing, because it is Buhari's instructions to the service chiefs that has forced the security services to stay hands. These are the things that are costing, as the vice president said, the country's cracks to force it towards a breakup. Boss Mustafa also said the same thing. The SGF, a breakup. Say, are we listening to this? So the earlier we come together,
I think Mr. Cash must have gotten offline. Victor, are you there?
I can hear you, Mr. Bello. What are the issues, please?
Yes, I don't know. I think that will be technical issues. I think he just went offline, just logged off.
That's true, Bello. I can't hear him again. I can't hear him again.
Yes.
Apparently, he's still talking.
Let's give him like 30 seconds to 1 minute and see
if he gets back on.
Yes, if he's going to log in.
Okay.
That was a chilling assessment of what is happening across the country. It's breathtaking, to put it mildly.
Yeah,
it is.
Dr. Kach, are you back on? Okay, while we wait for Dr. Kachi to get back on, I'd like to pose a question to Dr. Emeka Okmingu. Okay,
I am back on.
Okay.
I am back on. I don't know why that connection issue came.
Okay, we are sorry about that. It's a technical issue beyond our control. But now that you're back on, I'd like for you to just quickly wrap up.
Okay. My own roundup is that let us muster the courage, come together as a people, and tell President Buhari that we have noticed that the actions he is taking and that of some few Fulani redentists seem to be threatening the unity of our country. That we believe the words of Boss Mustafa, that we believe the warnings by Vice President Osibanjo, that there are cracks in our country that could make the country go away. Please, he should bring his people to order, and also he himself should stop this policy of trying to cleanse other ethnicities of the top hierarchies of national institutions and parastatals. We believe what him is doing, that we believe he's complicit in this action, because at the end of the day, the buck stops at his table. Don't forget, this is the president, and anything that we think people do, they do it and act on behalf of the president. If the service chiefs have kept quiet, and they told me 2 days after I went on channel to talk about the killings in Katsina, that they have not deployed to Katsina, I told them I don't believe your words. Why? You have military intelligence. You should have been able to know that these things are going on. Why do you keep quiet? Why does it take a television program to now you tell me that you're mobilizing to Katsina? Why? This is not proper. This is not proper. And I believe the president is complicit in these activities that seem to threaten the existence of the Nigerian project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kachi. Dr. Kengu, I'd like for you to address this issue, please, if you will. Before 1999, very little was known about the South-South, the Southeast, the Southwest, the North-Central, the Northwest, or the Northeast for that matter. We only knew about the states in the country. We addressed every region by the states. But post-1999, these regions have taken the front burner in national discourse. Do you not think that this is a pointer to regionalism?
No, that's not factual. That's not very factual. The issue of the zones, actually came, out of a national conference. I don't know, I can't remember which one, I think I recollect, but it was actually, being promoted by Dr. Alex Ekweme, so that's how far back he goes, all the geopolitical settings in Nigeria. But I think it took some kind of political coloration, when we now got into partisan politics, of course, which is normal. My brother, my friend of a very long time standing, Dr. Kachonunju, has spoken, and I think it's important that I put some flesh to what it is he said. Okay, each time we talk about the Fulani people, it's important that we put it in the proper context and the perspective. I think it goes beyond what my brother, Dr. Katch, which a lot of his facts, Katch is not somebody who speaks carelessly. He's very factual, but I think what I want to do is not to say he's not right, but to say that there are some missing elements to also what could have now contributed to what it is that people now call the Fulani irredentists. It is important for us to know that there's a region they call the Sahel region. It's also important for us to know that there's a place they call the Sahara Desert, which by size is actually almost the size of the whole. Pastoralists live in that zone that they call the Sahel region, which is practically being overtaken by the Sahara Desert. Why this is important is for us not to be very judgmental. Okay, I'm trying to lead up to a point, Victor, if you don't mind. Okay, not to be very, very judgmental in now classifying what it is you now have as the Yoruba or the Southwest or the Southeast. This is what you call, politicking or politicking, if you may. Okay, it happens in the struggle for power. Every zone, wants to be able to have an edge. Right now, there are groups who are promoting what you call the Igbo presidency. Okay, and they're saying, oh, they want an Igbo man to be president. Now, this is happening because you have not been able to understand that there's a world of difference, between what you call a state and a nation. They are not the same thing. Okay, what it is what we have right now is a state where there is now this struggle for what you call the national cake. And in struggling for this national cake, everybody now says, oh, the buck stops at the table of the president because of, two elements that operate, our justice system or our governance structures. One is what you call, what you have on your concurrent list, and then the other one is what you have on your exclusive list. Now, these are all some of the situations that now make, or some of the factors that now makes it seem as if we're carrying all the whole problem and we're laying it at the table of the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria. Because in that exclusive list, Victor, you have over 28 or 58 items. Most of them bordering on the things that my brother, Catch, is actually talking about: security, social integration, et al. It is important for us to know that in the 54 or so countries of Africa, not one is safe from insurrections or insurgencies. Kat had mentioned the Northern Mali. Yes, it was a fulcrum. It was what we could call the cul-de-sac of people aggregating together to say, okay, based on our religious beliefs, let's be able to carve out our own land. But it's important that in juxtaposing or talking about Northern Mali, you cannot exclude Chad, you cannot exclude Niger Republic, you cannot exclude Sudan, okay, where you had the Janjaweeds and all that. But in answering your question directly, Victor, the only problem I see that we'll have as a country is that we'll have a justice system that cannot protect you. And that is why we're now going to the governance system to protect you. If Catch, as a very concerned citizen, who is very nationalistic. He speaks Hausa better than most Hausa people I know. He speaks French, you know, he's traveled even in this time and last time he was on television, he said he physically visited these places that were killing people. If we had a justice system, Catch didn't need, you know, to start calling on the president to do his job. All he needed to do was to go to that justice system and then enforce that somebody who is now signed on to a service he owns the Nigerian public does that service, or the justice system takes him out. This is how it works. So in trying to develop our country called Nigeria, it is important for us to also now lay this blame where they are. Can the president do any better than he's doing based on the status that we're operating in this country today? This is a question that all of us must be able to interrogate. And this is why when in the days that the opposition was trying to take over power, the question some of us asked was, do you understand what it is that has happened thus far? Can you be able to do it any differently? Now, and then it now came to the point of body language. And no matter how much you do well, no matter how much you mean to do well, you cannot operate outside the legal system, you know, that empowers you to operate. No matter how much you want President Buhari to be able to solve all the problems of Nigeria, he must also do it in consonance with the provisions of our constitution. So, Victor, to answer your question directly, no, the South-South-Southeast brouhaha agitations or interfaces didn't start. Kunle is a Yoruba man. We are together in a group that is not interested in who is South-South and who is South-East. Ditto with me and Catch. We've done, you know, a lot of brainstorming. And at that level, nobody is interested in what zone that you come from. It is only at the level of partisanship, okay, which tribes, because of this recruitment process that Kunle had talked about. Okay, you have a system that allows somebody who has attempted to take an exam, you know, becoming somebody who now begins to now process, you know, your legal and constitutional provisions. This is where you have the misnomer. So in trying for us to be able to get a country that can be able to operate for all of us to be safe, we need gentlemen, you know, ladies of anywhere, to be able to look at, you know, those parameters and frameworks that now controls and governs our recruitment process into the public service. In closing, said I don't take a lot of time. Before the 1999 you were talking about, I know that those who are seeking public office went through, then it used to be the SSS. You sent your documents to SSS and the SSS screened you. And if you didn't pass through SSS screening, you could not run for public office. And trust me, I think we had a better run at those who eventually could buy, you know, forms to be able to get into public office. But today, it is not so. It is not so because the Constitution doesn't allow for that to happen. The Constitution empowers political parties to be able to present their candidates, and then they are the ultimate. And that is some kind of the problems that a fine gentleman, each time I listen to him, I don't know, I've not met him personally, but I try to listen to the reasoning behind Senator Mark Musabe. And that's why I said, if we had a country where people could be able to understand politics, it should be a study in political engineering, or disengineering, or political ingenuity, or disingenuity. So, brother, you see, if we are going to get our country right, let me tell you the things we must do. First and foremost, we must be able to define who the Nigerian is. There is nobody called a Nigerian, Victor. But we have people who are carrying Nigerian passports, and they only go to get those passports when they need to travel. You can only become a citizen of a country when you have access, okay, to both service delivery and access to justice to be able to now correct infractions in those service delivery, you know, when they are not done the way they are supposed to be done. That is the word. And if you travel abroad, there is one word a shopkeeper does not want to hear. You know what it is? This is not acceptable. I am going to seek redress. Now, this is why everybody is proud to say, no matter who the hell you are, just like when we were growing up, it didn't matter whose son you were, it didn't matter whose daughter you were. What mattered was that there were processes that led to you being able to be engaged, in public service. And then there were demands, and there were protocols, and there were standards, and people tried to meet it because there were the legal system that made certain that you were either rewarded or punished. So please, I don't think it's very correct, factually correct. Yes, you could say, yes, it's on the increase now, that where everybody is now talking about, oh, let us restructure, let us do zones. No, it was something that was promoted, and I think it was Dr. Alex Ekweme that promoted it. I think it's the 1979 Constitutional Conference or something in one of those conferences. And since then, he has caught up. But right now, it's being negated, for the wrong reasons. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Kungu, for both the correction and the education. Going forward, Senator Abe, I have a question for you. We have over the years, struggled to try to build a Nigeria that is fair to everyone. You were in the Senate for a number of years. How would you say that the National Assembly led the path to creating or birthing a Nigeria that is fair to everyone that calls him or herself a Nigerian?
Well, thank you very much. This is a very, very interesting discussion, but we all need to understand that the problems of any society, and not just that of Nigeria, are complex. And it will be difficult, if not impossible, for anybody to produce a silver bullet as a total solution to all the challenges of our country. Let me be on record to say that I do not agree with Dr. Kach that what we have is a Fulani problem. I've heard him try to, should I say, promote that theory once and several times. I want to say that we do have a problem in this country, and the problems are indeed numerous. But to identify any one ethnic group as the sole promoter of all the security challenges that currently have enveloped the country will not be fair in so many ways. But I believe that that would be an argument that would take a day on its own when people are ready for that. We do have challenges in the country. Some of the challenges, as Dr. Emeka has pointed out, are legal. And sometimes in trying to solve one problem, you end up with another problem. For example, he was talking about SSS screening people to go and run for elections. That was what it was. But you will remember that during the Abacha regime, the SSS was used to knock out everybody that the authorities didn't want. And so to limit the ability of those with power, because Africans, as you know, don't use power with restraint. Anybody who has power. You do the worst you can or you do the best you can, depending on what catches your fancy. So to take out that possibility that those who would have power over the DSS or the SSS, as the case was, would use it as an instrument to knock out candidates that they think can defeat their own candidate. All that was taken out, and the courts have held that nobody has any power to stop somebody else from running for election except the court. Now, in arriving at that position, you now have a situation where that new position would also create some of the kind of challenges that you are talking about. So it's not possible for us to have one solution to all our problems that will be able to solve everything. But what I would like to say is that in dealing with the problems of Nigeria, it is important that we understand that our problems are multifaceted. They are different things. And I also do not agree that what the vice president meant was that the president is putting pressure on the republic and it is going to blow up. That's not what the VP said. That is what President Obasanjo said. So let's not ascribe what Obasanjo said to Osibanjo. The names may be both Banjo, but they are not the same people. The point I want to make is this. Clearly, Nigeria has challenges, and we need to be objective in dealing with those challenges. Also, the entire issue of federal character, qualifications, and all that, these are different manifestations of a central problem. But in coming to deal with qualifications, for example, if you look at somebody like the president, let's take President Buhari, for example. This is a man who has been a minister, he has been a governor, he has been head of state. So there is no country in the world where you even interrogate the academic qualifications of somebody who has gathered so much experience. Nowhere is it done. In any proper society, at a certain point, experience even counts more than paper qualifications. So to keep going back to the issue of what certificate somebody has, when clearly somebody has demonstrated ability and capacity over the years to acquire enough knowledge to deal with a problem, to me begs the question, what clearly is the challenge facing Nigeria today is, like I said, multifaceted, but there are certain basic things that I think we need to address. As I have said before, first of all, is that we need to address the destination of our country. That's something we can't gloss around. If things are wrong and we have a direction and a destination, we correct those things in order to get to that destination. But if we don't know where we are going and then we are trying to solve every problem, and solving the problems are not targeted to an end result where all people, all Nigerians can tie in, then solving the problem becomes just an activity, you know, in which you will have so much movement, you know, but you're actually going nowhere. Like I always say to people, if somebody leaves Aba and he is going to Lagos, and then you start driving to Enugu, you're driving to Makodi, you may be driving at 260 kilometers per hour, but you're not making progress. But a man who leaves Aba and he is going to Lagos and he's doing 10 kilometers per hour and has got into Onitsha and is crossing over towards Benin, even if he's doing 10 kilometers per hour, the person is making progress because he knows where he's going. And every kilometer you go means that there is so much less kilometers for you to cover. So I think that the most important challenge facing this country is the fact that we need to come together as a people to agree on the destinations on which we are set. First of all, if we take producing the best in every situation as a yardstick, that is not as complicated as it looks. And to come to the issue of the National Assembly and how the National Assembly has contributed to this process or not, we need to also look at how is the National Assembly itself constituted. The other day, somebody was talking about the question of funding for the National Assembly, giving the National Assembly control of their own funds and all that to make them independent. That's not what is going to make the National Assembly independent. What is going to make the National Assembly independent? You need to look at how do people get into the National Assembly. If I'm in the House of Representatives or in the Senate and you want to take a vote or you want to take a decision on something, one phone call from your governor is enough for you to start changing what you need to say. Why? Because if you want to come back to the Senate or you want to come back to the House of Representatives, the governor just takes his pen and writes down the names of those who are to come and who are not to come. So the lawmaker, what is important to him is his ability to be able to cross that hurdle. If you create an independent
Mr. Bello.
Yes, I don't know what happened.
We have lost him.
Yeah, Senator Magnus Abe, we can't hear you right now, and you are not on mute. So I don't know what's going on.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
We can hear you now.
Okay, I think it's showing me that my internet connection appears to be unstable. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes,
we
we
can.
can hear you now, Lada.
Yes. Welcome to my world. We all have problems.
Okay, Kat, thank you. But the point I'm trying to make is that there are certain we need to come to an understanding of certain fundamentals. And once we have an understanding of those fundamentals, it is the problem of Nigeria is not as complicated as it looks. First of all, we need to have the understanding that we want to build a country that fundamentally gives all Nigerians equal opportunity to participate and contribute to their country. That's one. Secondly, we need to build a country that promotes and recognizes merit. That's two. We need to build a country that can compete internationally in terms of our ability to provide security and opportunity for progress for all our citizens, regardless of where they come from. If we identify our targets, then we must be able to understand that nothing in this life happens by itself. All the countries you see that are successful in the way they have been able to grow, like I said, they're not organic. They're concepts that people have constructed, promoted, nurtured, and developed. And that is the same thing that has to happen to Nigeria. It doesn't matter what our problems are. There are solutions to them. There are scientific solutions, there are engineering solutions, there are social solutions, there are economic solutions to all the problems that this country faces. But the real problem with this is that we are not looking for those solutions. And we are trying to... Hello? Can you hear me, everyone?
Go ahead, sir. Can hear you, sir.
Yes. So once we are determined to build a country that works for the majority of Nigerians, then we can have a conversation that identifies the challenges and identifies the solutions. And those challenges, believe you me, are there, but they are not unsurmountable. And let me also say this to those who keep talking about, dividing Nigeria, blah, 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 blah. Let me say to all of us that the same things that are a problem to Nigeria will be a problem to my village, even if my village were to become a country of its own. The same divisions will arise, the same challenges will arise. It will be it is on a smaller scale now, but if it becomes a country, it becomes also magnified by the status of what you're dealing with. There is no society in the world presently that is not contending with the same challenges that Nigeria is contending with. You watch the US debate, you watch the riots and all that in the streets of America, the race issues, the social issues, they are there. If you go to China, you have the same problems. If you go to Germany, you have the same problems. If you go to Japan, you have those problems. So the successful country is not a country without challenges. The successful country is the country that is able to recognize its challenges, contain, overcome, and make progress in spite of those challenges. So we should never talk in the terms of trying to have a country that has no challenges. No. We should talk in terms of trying to build a country that recognizes, that is able to identify its challenges and look for solutions to those problems. I believe that Nigeria can be made to work for the majority of Nigerians. We can build a country here that will guarantee that as a Nigerian, no matter where you come from, whether you're from Sokoto or you're from Abia, whether you're from Ogun or you're from Taraba, the same opportunities that the child from Kano will get will be open to you in Rivers State. That's the kind of country we need. And that is not abstract. It is something that is achievable. We can work out a way to make all those kind of things possible in this country if we are committed to it. As long as we keep running a country that is based on rent seeking and everybody is trying to cheat the other person and people believe that they can make progress by pulling other people behind, we are going nowhere. And nobody is going to go anywhere in that kind of setup. So I think that what Nigeria needs more than anything else are people who believe in Nigeria. Nigerians who believe in Nigeria, not Nigerians who think that Nigeria does not have a problem, not Nigerians who think that we can create a country without problems, but Nigerians who understand that every country is a challenge to put together and sustain and grow. That's one. Secondly, to also say to all of us, I keep saying this to everybody, that no generation is bound by the ideas and beliefs and understandings of another generation. No matter what we do, we must understand that our own responsibility for Nigeria is for today. Nobody knows what tomorrow will hold. The children of tomorrow, if we train them well, we need to have the confidence that they too can pick up the country from where we will leave it, improve it if it needs to, change it if it needs to be changed, but sustain it still in a manner that it guarantees the best for those who are born into this country at that particular era. Because you cannot for certainty say that the concept of nation states will be an everlasting thing. It may not be. The world may get to a point where people don't need countries. Who knows what will happen when we are no longer here? Our responsibility to Nigeria is a responsibility for today. How do we provide for Nigerians today? How do we provide opportunities for them? How do we make them proud of the country into which they are born? How do we bring them together to know that they have to support one another and that they cannot make progress without one another? Every day I talk to my children. I talk to them about the importance of family, of them understanding that they have to do things together. They have to come together. Your family will not be united when you're dead if you didn't train them to know that they are a family and to understand what being a family means. So I think that the greatest problem facing Nigeria today is that there are just too many people who are prepared to give up on the country. How do you give up? Even if you create a Duduwa nation today, it will still have all the problems and challenges and all that Nigeria has. And you must still overcome those problems in the Duduwa nation to make it a successful society in which people, the best of everybody, can come out. So I think that if we start our conversations about Nigeria from the foundation that, yes, I mean, this is a contraption. Every country is a contraption and a concept and a construct. But it is human beings, it is leaders who make the country into what it is. And it is also leaders who fail it. So as much as we see some countries, we think that, oh, these are fantastic countries, these are successful societies. If their own generation fails in developing what they inherited, those countries will still fall. After all, the Portugal of today is not the Portugal that we read about in the time of the king of Queen Isabella. So I think if we start that conversation from the understanding that, yes, this is our country, it has all these challenges, we need to look for solutions to these problems in order to build the Nigeria that will be able to deliver on the expectations or even exceed. Why should we deliver on expectations? A Nigeria that will exceed the expectations even of its own citizens. It is possible for us to achieve that. It is difficult to achieve that, but it will be difficult in any other setting. And it is no easier here than it is in Germany or than it is in France. So let's not keep thinking that by one magic wand or by running the country down or by going to war or by dividing the country, we will come up with something better. That is not the way to go. The way to go.
Thank you, Senator Abbey.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Senator Abbey.
Just a word to round up. The way to go is that we have a country that has all these problems and challenges, but some of the problems of Nigeria are actually, with all due respect, self-made and self-inflicted because we don't want solutions to them, because we're not working together to get solutions. And finally, let me say this. An aeroplane, a plane flies because it is designed to fly. No matter how good a boss is, no matter how good the driver is, no matter how good the road is, there is no bus that is going to fly from here to anywhere. It doesn't matter how well you drive it. If you want something that is going to fly, You have to design it with flying in mind. This country, for it to be a productive society that will meet and exceed the expectations of its citizens, it has to be so designed. And we just have to have that conversation and go about trying to do that. Any other thing we're doing, to me, as far as I'm concerned, is just a waste of time. We can talk to the Fulanis from now till tomorrow. We can talk to the Yorubas from now till tomorrow. It's not going to change anything. Everybody will still be poor. Everybody will still be broke. And everybody will still be suffering, because what happens to the majority ultimately is what is going to overwhelm the rest of us. But
thank you very much, Mutabe. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. But just before you go, please, while you are making your presentation, you said something about you as a 7th senator or a member of the House of Reps wanting to do something, you know, for your people, and then a call from your governor changes that narrative. Now, I want to find out, as an elected senator or a member of the House of Reps, I would assume that you are completely independent, even though you have to work with your state governor. If that be the case, is it not proper that you possibly educate your governor as to the things you want to do as a senator or a reps member, as against what he desires that you do?
You see, what I was trying to convey to you is not that you want to go and eat, you have to call the governor. No. But what I'm saying is that the whole idea of having parliament and having the powers of the country separated into judicial, legislative, and executive, and trying to make them independent of one another, is that so that each one can act as a check on the other. In this country, that check does not exist. Why does it not exist? It exists on paper. It's there in the Constitution. But if you go to a state, the governor sits down when they want to do elections into the House of Assembly, and he will write the names of all the people who will be members of the House of Assembly. When you have one branch of government totally able to determine who occupies positions in the other branch of government and who becomes a branch of the other arm of government, of course, the whole intention of the Constitution in trying to separate this as a check on one on the other is lost in that process. So what I have always said, and what I would like to say here today, is that if we are serious about solving the problems of Nigeria, I always believe that when you want to solve a problem, don't try to solve all. Identify one problem where the solution to that one problem will have a domino effect on every other problem. And for me, I have always stated, and I want to state here now, that the main problem of Nigeria is the electoral system. If we clean out the electoral system in such a way that anybody can get elected, no matter what anybody else thinks, I believe that a clean electoral system will produce independent legislators, will make it impossible for the executive to have access to funds to compromise the rest of the system. And it will create a foundation from which we can begin to look for solutions to all the other challenges facing the country. So if you look at the way elections are conducted in this country, it's even gotten to the point now where you have to pay the electorate, you have to take care of security, you have to pay the security, you have to pay the INEC staff, you have to pay the ad hoc staff, you have to, who does all that? All those things are made from state funds, one way or the other, because no individual has access to that amount of money. So at the end of the day, once people succeed in getting hold of the government, they simply use the government in coercing and buying all other structures of the state, and then they control the political party. So at the end of the day, whoever controls the political party determines those that get to stand for election and determines those who get into those elective positions. Unless we have an electoral system that can guarantee the independence of those who hold legislative positions, every attempt that we make, whether we call it restructuring or we call it anything else, will still run into the same problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Going forward, Mr. Ayokule Fagbemi, given the fact that most of the states have indirectly formed local or state-based security outfits, as we have the Amoteku in the southwest, we have the Hisba in places like Sokoto and Kano. Time was when in the southeast, they also toyed with the idea. Would you, as a result of all of these, canvass for state policy structure for the country?
Thank you very much, Victor. I think I'll quickly want to correct one impression that Senator Magnus had was wrongly trying to create. When you're discussing the dynamics
louder, we can barely.
When you are discussing the dynamics of the Nigerian state, these are the educational qualification. It is not just about the numero uno alone that you are talking. The numero uno, that is the president, is just one of many public officers of the Nigerian state. Since we are discussing policing, I will take the average policeman as a case study, and I will want to discuss this from the angle that if you have a man who did not really pass the school certificate enter the Nigerian police force, he cannot comprehend safely the distinction between what is contained in the criminal code or the penal code and does not even have a full grasp of that which is part and parcel of the Police Act itself. And that is why today on the streets, you do not have policemen complying with the Police Act that hitherto was and will not comply with the Police Act that is now in terms of having pocket diaries. When you do not have pocket diaries and you do not make entries as a policeman on a beat, you cannot go to the police station and make entries into the station diary. If you do not make station diary entries, then you are not in a position to clearly allow for analytic framework that will allow you to do crime profiling and ensure that you can now actually start addressing the dynamics of the core function of policing. The core function of policing is to prevent crimes from occurring in the first instance, and then if crimes do occur, that you can investigate it thoroughly and properly. And when you finish investigating, you should be able to apprehend the culprits and activate the execution component of it. So in terms of the education issue, we cannot beg it. And that is why originally, when you are looking at the subject of thesis, antithesis, and the synthesis, you will discover that it is the poverty of intellectual input into most of our discourses that is creating our problems. When you say you are interested in looking at the antithesis, it is simply under the Hegelian philosophical school of thought. It is only allowing you to say there are contestation of the idea or the position that appears as a thesis. So when you are now talking of policing, what exactly is policing? There are three triads. Policing is a triad. That is, it has a stool of 3 legs. A stool of 3 legs where you have one is the statutory formal. You have the second, which is the informal and neighborhood in component, which constitute the third one, that is community-based neighborhood. And those 2 legs are the most important aspect of it. The policing framework of the Nigerian state and the national security strategy do actually acknowledge that it should be the whole of government, the whole of society. And if it is going to be the whole of government, whole of society, and since you know that security is not the exclusive preserve of the state, then we can begin to approach it from that angle. What is contained?
Mr. Fagbani, we can barely hear you, sir.
Not so people are asked in what is contained the dynamics of Nigerian legal frameworks. And if last and you have a major issue. To answer your question in the simple language, subscribe is I am only subscribing based on the form of policing. You have the neighborhood watch system. You have the is the only way. And if you are going to do this, is have a tiered structure. You will have many layers of interface. And that is where you will now begin to say to yourself, in as you are going to approve state policing, you approve the neighborhood watch and the vigilante support system. If you do not do that, then there will still be gaps, and you must find the parameters of intervention that is possible for each one of them. Currently, that you are discussing is, do we decentralize or regionalize police? The truth of it is that even though the military police of the Nigerian state is decentralized, needs to be careful to understand that it is not as simple as saying police or not. You have state police and you are still operating this model. You are going to have better results. You can only have the best of results. We are going to be involved in
Mr. Kule, just interjecting, please. There seems to be a little problem with the audio coming from your end. I don't know if you can rectify that so that we can hear you properly.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes,
better
hear you
now.
now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. The point I was trying to make is very simple. One, when you have policing that is clearly defined, and you can only define it clearly when you appreciate the fact that the legal and policy frameworks of the Nigerian state demand that all of government, all of society, and that policing is a triad. Policing being a triad means that you will have the regular and the formal constituted statutory policing framework. Then you will have the neighborhood watch system that normally is dovetailed into the normal statutory policing. And then you have that which is believed to be community-oriented and informal, wherein you can now have a private man recruiting his security guard. All this must be interfaced and interwoven into the other. And the current frameworks, the law, do allow for such to exist. And that is why when you look at communities and climes where they are approaching policing correctly, they have allowed themselves to appreciate this. I mentioned earlier on that the number one problem that we are having is that our recruitment processes are skewed and faulty because of the so-called minimum educational requirement and the poor standard of our educational system. When you say you have a policeman who cannot even properly read and write, and unfortunately, the system does not allow for the embedded legal framework of monitoring and evaluation that exists, wherein he is supposed to carry a pocket diary. The pocket diary that he carries is where he makes his entries. And if he makes the entries in the pocket diary, he should get to the station and transfer that content of the pocket diary into the station diary. That is what the law says. It is based on that that you can now begin to do the required next level of intervention of you either profiling the crime and identifying the patterns and identifying the culprits and doing the investigation, which should ideally lead to the apprehension of the culprits and the prosecution of the culprits. It is good to have all these things in the law, but if the educational qualification of those who are supposed to implement are in the first place skewed and do not represent that which will allow us to make progress. They will keep on fighting the likes of Amotekun. I cannot just imagine, and I did a presentation on this, the Nigerian Police Inspector General is fighting Amotekun. The Attorney General, through his SA media, purportedly proscribed Amotekun with an instrument claiming that it was supposed to be an Attorney General's opinion. Meanwhile, it does not meet the requirements by a law and administrative framework of that which constitutes an Attorney General's expression of opinion. Attorney Generals do not speak to the public if he's making an expression of opinion. He can only express opinion either to the law courts or to the administrative bodies of the Executive Council, Security Council, or Defense Council. And when he's going to do that, it must be on his letterhead, which must be watermarked, and it must contain his expressed opinion based on law and case law. Unfortunately, the instrument that was trying to proscribe Amotekun did not conform to any of this. And interestingly, it is worth noting that when they said they do not believe in regional security networks, you ask yourself, what is the basis of we having zonal commands for the police? How come the SSS has zonal command? How come the drug law enforcement has zonal command? How come you have the EFCC with zonal commands? How come the immigration services and all these other entities that are involved, including road safety, have the zonal commands framework? It means that we are not being sincere. And that is why we need to really allow the philosophical, etymological discourse.
I think we're having technical issues here. I think the network just
we have lost you, Mr. Fagbemi.
Yes, the network just froze. Go ahead, Mr. Moderator. Oh, I think it's back.
Mr. Fagbemi, can you hear me?
Yes, it's back online.
Okay.
You have to unmute yourself, Mr. Fagbemi.
Mr. Fagbemi, please unmute yourself so we can hear you, and then you do a quick wrap up, please.
Okay, basically what I'm trying to draw, and I'll close with that, is that we must always take a look at our legal and policy frameworks, and we must always take a look at our theories and the research component to understand what we are dealing with. It is not going to be easy for those who just have merely school certificates education that they barely passed to comprehend with all this. Senator Dr. Magnus Abe has been able to comprehend and juxtapose all these things, but a number of these people, even though you may want to say they have some form of experience, they cannot grasp with multiple multidisciplinary discourses that are octagonal in orientation. And that is why we will keep on having the problems. We cannot keep on wishing away the contestations that should allow us to refine and come to the level of the synthesis. When the people are requesting for self-determination, it is simply because the current system is not working. Why is the current system not working? The legal and policy frameworks are skewed and are being implemented in a manner that is not in the best interest of the people. So we need to correct it. And if you are going to correct it, you can only correct it by coming to the conference table and then ironing out through a joint problem solving. So it is a misnomer for anybody to say you don't want people that are making agitations to make their agitations. They should make their agitations. It is now for us to extract from them and based on joint problem solving, come together and match a way forward. Take, for instance, the constitutional review. The constitutional review can only work if the first thing that is embedded in that constitutional review is a referendum. Referendum must come clearly out as one of the major ways forward so that we'll be able to do things correctly. The second thing is the devolution of powers. The devolution of powers to the constituent
entities of the Nigerian state in such a manner that you will have to review the contents of the legislative listing so that you will weaken that which is at the exclusive level and empower the levels of the constituent entities. The next thing that must be done and should be done quickly is to ensure that when you take a look at the constitutional elements, you can no longer continue without giving roles to the religious and traditional institutions. We must find a novel way of doing this so that we can truly stem some of the crises that we are having. And to go further is to say to ourselves, we need to have frameworks in which the representation and the balancing must be true to the geopolitical systems that we do have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fagbemi. Thank you so very much. Dr. Kengu, I am back to you. In a recent poll by the African Polling Institute, more than 60% of Nigerians polled that they are proud to be Nigerians. And the same poll, over 80% polled that the government of the country does not care about them. Now, the question is, why this disparity in the figures of those who say they are proud to be Nigerians and those who believe that the government does not care about them? And then the second part of it is, why do we think as a people that our government does not care about us?
Well, it's what you have asked does not have a yes and no question, because it's actually, it depends on which divide you're taking it from. And again, the people that you're also talking about, we need to know how many people that were polled, and then what kind of polling that we did, and then what areas you took your polling from. You see, I think the greatest challenge we have, and governments in Nigeria have always had, and this is why people seem to think that governments do not care about them, is that we've not been able to establish a proper social infrastructure system, okay, a proper, social security system that can, interface government with the citizenry. I think that's what the major problem is. And so each time, and again, you have a lot of, politics in governance. We never ever seem to end politics. We never seem to stop politics and then begin governance. So at every point in time, you either have those who says, oh, we had fought for this administration, we haven't gotten any rewards, or those who say, oh, because we're out of power, we're being excluded. So the few people now who, and again, that is how the government system works. You have 20, 30 million people who voted somebody, president, into power, and each of those people now think that they owe him something, or he owes them something. And the only way this can be achieved is truly when we're able to put in a proper social security system. So to answer your question directly, I think it's the absence of that, social security safety networks, or safety nets that has created, what you might be able to call this apathy, of citizenry, or distrust, if you may, of citizenry towards governance. I'll give you a very typical example. Okay, I've been seeing people's reactions to the president's speech. Somebody actually sent me, a text to say, okay, president says that the fuel sells for 360 or something in Saudi Arabia, but his basic salary in Saudi Arabia is XYZ or 350,000 naira or something like that. Pay us that and we can buy fuel at 168 naira. So it seems to be like, okay, it is the president that is selling fuel. Now, it is difficult for you to be able to understand these complexities because there are no social programs that can be able to now, mitigate these after effects on the citizenry. Do you understand what I'm saying? Everybody is looking towards government, to provide basically everything for them. Whereas in proper climes, what should happen is that if you had that, security architecture or social architecture, what government would have just simply done was to now oversight it, to now make certain that your private sector is able to now drive your economy, and then government now does oversighting and then takes most of its earnings from taxes. We've not been able to achieve this. And this is why, government and politics seems to have become the only way people are able to survive. And the gap is closing by the day. Those who enter don't want to leave, and other people are struggling to enter into a space that is already overcrowded. What's the solution going forward? I think for me, everybody agrees to be foolhardy. Even the president himself in his speech today, so much alluded to it that all is not well with the country, just like all is not well with the group. Just like all is not well with Africa, but it is that our commitment to be able to now create a country. Somebody said to me, if you're talking about the future you want, create that future. Okay, all of us cannot be that same. All of us cannot be that intelligent. All of us cannot be that gifted. But I think it is for the very few who understand how socially structured and social architecture works, to be able to create this hope for everybody to first and foremost believe in this country called Nigeria. And this is why in my opening I said to you, how many people truly, those who are Nigerians are those who are in the employment of the public sector. Those are the people who believe that Nigeria is working. The moment you're out of that circle, and because there is nothing you can fall back on, everybody seems to say, okay, the suffering is too much. There is nobody is getting any help, from anybody. So it begins to now tell on everybody. But I think going forward, what is important for us to do, especially for those of us, who are 50 and 60 and above, is to be able to create this consciousness in every Nigerian, okay, that a new Nigeria, a possible Nigeria, a peaceful Nigeria is possible. This is, I think, the challenge all of us in this room, all of us in this platform, have. No matter how bitter, no matter how unhappy, no matter how uncomfortable, we must be able to create, that new consciousness to say, okay, everything is gone wrong, everything can go wrong, but what can we do? How can we all get together to be able to get it right? And I think that's, what Senator Magnus Abe, has tried. This is what even Kat himself, who says government has failed, is not also all about let us sweep away Nigeria. He's also saying, let us be able to now find those things that are wrong with our system and do what we can best to be able to get back on track. And this is very possible, Victor. And we cannot, get to it by, Nigerians are, every Nigerian is unhappy. Yes, hungry people are unhappy. There are statistics to show that a lot of Nigerians are unhappy and hungry. And it didn't start today. Okay? There's another statistics that also says that Nigerians are the happiest people in the whole world in the midst of this hunger. There's another statistics that says Nigeria is the most endowed, nation vis-a-vis, human resources on earth. These are statistics. Okay, so if you to juxtapose the statistics, now I think the greatest challenge we have as a people going forward is first and foremost, how can an Emeka Okengwu, and a Danjuma Mohammed sit together in a room, and say we are Nigerians? What is that? What is that battle cry? What is that thing that makes us Nigerian? It is the essence of this social, infrastructure or social support. And we cannot all create it because we have a constitution that does not even allow. Okay, let me digress a little bit and, deal with something that everybody, seems to be talking about. And what is this? Right now, we have a COVID problem. And as we're dealing with this COVID problem, at one time, federal government says, okay, this has now become, local, because it is now at the community level. So the states now, are the ones who are supposed to be leading this charge on this COVID matter. And then the question comes, and the same federal government that says to you, states, you take charge. Now, the secretary to government had announced that by the time he finished visiting, the health facilities he saw, that he was alarmed. And there's a document that shows that less than 12 states in Nigeria are viable. All the other ones are either in the red or getting close, to being bankrupt. So how are these states supposed to be now building this infrastructure that can be able to help them do this national spread when we don't have any data, when there has been no census? Okay, is this a problem? Yes, it's a problem. Are we supposed to be taking sticks to go and start, breaking down government facilities? No, we shouldn't. Now we've identified the problem. It is for all of us to now be able to put our hands together to be able to guide from whatever levels we are, from whatever it is we can be able to contribute, to say, let us even now go back to the most important component of our nation, the nationhood. And I'll tell you what it is the political wants. A lot of people do not know that these things are listed in our constitution. We have 8,806 of those political wards. All of us in this room belong to one. I haven't gotten to the local government area. And this is where we have our councillors. If we made a conscious effort to say, if charity begins at home and development must be bottom up, can we be able to first and most important of all, begin to focus our development on making certain that we'll have the right personnel, like my brother, Kunle has talked about, get our PhDs, get our master's degree holders, get our men of integrity to go and become councillors in those wards. And again, let me close by this, because I'm also going to be asking the chairman, Nas Kapunsa. I should have been in a board meeting since 3 o'clock. I've just asked them for 1 hour. I might be asking for you to be able to permit me to join, sir. So, point I'm trying to make, the most important component of nation building, the most important element is actually the House of Assemblies, okay? Because they are the ones that actually empower or can disempower or can create for us to be able to now have development in the states. Now, who are the people that occupy those seats in those House of Assemblies? They are the ones that empower the governors to be able to get away with murder. Because if you don't have that legislation, most governors cannot be able to spend public funds the way they spend it. I want to imagine a situation where you have a council on the Jew, 10 of them or 15 of them sitting as members of the Imo State House of Assembly. I don't know which governor. I don't know which governor. We write roughshod on Dr. Kachonoju. Ditto for most of us who are in this room today. So I think it is for us to be able to think our country through and be able to do those things. And this is why when you introduced me as a politician, I cringed. Because part of why some of us have gotten into this politics is that we find out that the only way you can be able to take over or get into public service is to be able to have a political party. Can we all come together to say, this is the most important element of development in this country, and it starts at that level where we can control it. All of us are opinion leaders in our different locations, but are we interested in politics? We talk about it, but we don't also practice it. When you talk about politics, oh, dirty people are not interested, but these are people who make or mar you, who take decisions that affect your life from that local level. Because when they're talking about leaders of thought, they are not going to be bringing, they're going to be choosing from that political, framework that exists there. So if you have a carpenter as chairman of your political party in your ward, it is that carpenter that is going to be in a meeting where they're going to be deciding the things that come into your community. And trust me, this is what happens. So whatever statistics everybody is bantering around, truth of the matter is that we have issues in Nigeria. Nobody is denying that. Nobody can deny that. Okay? But truth of the matter is also that we have people who are thinking, but we're not able to come together to say, okay, you've won an election, okay, let's put our hands together. It's all about our community. The community I come from, I'm an Umaya man. Okay, in the COVID time, some young man just brought together, my elder brother is on this platform listening, he lives in America. A young man just said, okay, you know what, we've gone around the village, there are people who can be able to eat. In a matter of 1 week, in my village, we raised over 5 million naira. In my little village.
Sorry, Dr. Kingo, can you please quickly wrap up?
Well, please, but my wrap-up is to please ask for permission to leave after this intervention. I would need to, I don't know how long this is going to last. If I'm able to join back in about an hour or so, otherwise I'll be very, very happy to take any questions, before I leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. King. We're very grateful. Thank you. Dr. Kach, I'm back to you. Dr. Kach, we've had all kinds of agitations in the country. The Oduduwa group wants to secede and form the Oduduwa nation. We've had the Biafra agitations over the years. Now, what, in your opinion, do you think we need to do as a nation to quell these agitations for nationhood.
Thank you very much. I would want to say that I agree with my friend Senator Magnus Abe's position that nations are concepts. Now, the concept our fathers had was a concept of a Nigerian that will exist inclusive of the aspirations of all. Now, we had challenges through the military days, and of course, the military didn't do anything well. Today, we are reading about what constituted their mindsets when they went on to write decrees for governments in a part of the country where you don't have water. But if we now hear that those places have more population, always drive to where the water is to actually make a living. But the soldiers did not do anything. We were now forced to accept what they wrote as Decree 24. We accepted that simply because we wanted them to go. Now we have come and we found that those laws are not easy for us to work with. And that's why we say, let us change. Restructuring, very basically, my brother, it means restructure the political superstructure away from the fraudulent things the soldiers designed onto something that is workable amongst us, people of different nation states. In Europe, what you call ethnicities in Nigeria are called nations in Europe. Now, we have done the democracy for 20 years, concentrating on economic growth, and we achieved under the period of democracy. We even rebased our economy and now found that our economy was the largest in Africa. And fear, and let me restate this now, because I come through history. Historically, we were colonized twice. The Fulanis, who came from Yemen, colonized the Hausas. The British colonized everyone else across land. We had independence, the British left, the Fulani stayed behind. Because the Fulani don't have numbers, yes, democracy was a really big challenge to them, because you needed numbers in democracy to maintain your hold over locations which we call political geography, places. And that's when this crisis started. I'm not just talking, my friend. I've worked with Presidents Obasanjo, Yar'Adua, and Goodluck. The only president I've not worked with is Buhari, simply because of his ideas about the country. He now came in, started employing nepotism as policy, and because of that employment of nepotism as policy, a lot of people felt now excluded from the Nigerian project that was supposed to be inclusive of the aspirations of all. And that was that President Buhari gave oxygen to those separatist movements. I can confidently tell you, President Buhari, through his ways, created unintendedly the Oduduwa movement, the IPOB boys. Now, me as an Igbo man, I don't want Biafra for very simple reason, because of my greed. I kept telling people who say, why do you say this? I say, why would I choose to take a shot of brandy?
Dr. Kach, we seem to have lost you. Mr. Bello.
Yes, I think he was having bandwidth issues, so he will be trying to, let's just give him a few seconds, he will try to log in.
Okay.
His bandwidth was low. However, the moderator, I think, posted, if you have any questions for Dr. Okengu, you can post it so he can address it before he leaves. I don't know if he has left already.
He's still here with us, I believe.
Yes, okay.
So if you have any questions for Dr. Kengu, please, you can just post it on the chat room so he can quickly respond to them before he leaves. He leaves very shortly. Thank you. Okay. While we wait for Dr. Cash to get back on, Mr. Fagbemi, as a nation, we have been bedeviled by the pandemic called corruption. Government after government have designed various means to eradicate this pandemic and have failed in their efforts. What do you propose?
Mr. Moderator, I think Dr. Cash is back on. Sorry to interject.
Okay, all right, thank you. Dr. Cash, you can wrap up so we can move on. Thank you.
Yes, please. Sorry about the disconnections. Now, what I'm trying to say is, as I said earlier, and of course, I had some of my brothers saying they don't agree with me, but I will continue to serve the truth. I believe the separatist movement is due to what we have seen in country, what we have now seen that President Buhari is doing, trying to cleanse off, like I am Igbo, and I can tell you, Igbos have been cleansed off the top hierarchies of security apparatus. You can see the publications last week of the new promotions of officers in the customs. You could see the suggestion by President Buhari in regard to the Supreme Court. So if you continue to use that nepotism as a policy and also ethnic cleansing of people off the height of national institutions, they will have no other option than to resort to, okay, since you don't want me, I want to go my way. President Muhammadu Buhari is the architect, the founder, and the provider of fuel for all these separatist organizations. If you have family and you have about 4 children, you start to show only 2. That they are loved, that they are included in whatever you do, you'll be sure that the other children will simply want to go their own, because if they stay around you and nothing comes to them, you will stroke out of that abandonment. So President Buhari is the reason, and that's why I tell you, look, the Fulani bandits, the Boko Haram, all these 3 people, what do we do? No, Buhari, how can you bring them back into to be okay? No, you don't. The idea is there, and that's why positions are driven by people. And we've seen that the service chiefs have been told to stay hands. If not, my dear brother, our security services are some of the very best. Look at the way Mr. Kiari is able to pinpoint and catch anybody that undermines the security. He is still there. Why don't you put him there for him to investigate Boko Haram, investigate the Fulani herdsmen?
Mr. Bello. Mr. Bello. Mr. Bello, are you there? Mr. Bello, can you hear me?
Back to the ancestral group, the one
issues he's having.
What about the use of the words of 5%? These are the reasons why we insist that President Buhari should change his ways.
Victor. Yes, Mr. Victor.
Yes, Mr. Bello.
Yes, I think the major issue with Dr. Cash is the bandwidth.
Okay, so we can make progress then.
That means you want me to come on?
Pardon?
Do you want me to come on right away?
Bandwidth.
Okay.
Why will it be my bandwidth? Are you sure it's my bandwidth? Why will it be my bandwidth?
Dr.
Okay.
Patch, Dr. Patch,
Backbiting the belly of this my bandwidth here.
Dr. Patch, please give me a second.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, please give me a second. Just hold your thoughts for a little while, please. For those of us who might have questions for both Dr. Okengu and Senator Abe, might you please put forward our questions to them so they can take their lead for other businesses that they have, postponed for this event. Let's please quickly do that. Thank you. If you have a question, just signify by raising your hand. We know how to do that. You'll be recognized and you would ask your question.
It's like Senator Magnus Abe is leaving.
Yes, that's why I had said to him that he should just give us another 5-10 minutes.
Okay, thanks.
So if you have any questions, please signify. We recognize you. You ask your questions, please. Okay, Dr. Uche Guam, you may ask a question. Dr. Uche Guam, can you hear me? Mr. Bello, can you please unmute Dr. Uche Guam so he can ask his question?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now, Doctor.
Yeah. This question is for both of them, both Dr. Abe and Emeka.
Okay.
You see, let me preface what I want to talk. The words, your Zuma run, unity in diversity, did not start today. It started right from, when the first literature on American Indians were developed. That must have been 16th century. And it is. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
You go ahead.
I said that oxymoron, the two concepts, unity and diversity, is an oxymoron, and it did not start today. It started long time ago in the 16th century, in the USA, and it was later used later used to describe the people of Switzerland. Later used to describe the people of Switzerland. And in anywhere they have unity and diversity, they always have what they call a true federalism. Switzerland has what they call confederalism, while USA has federalism. When I'm talking of federal, I'm talking of physical and physical federalism. Don't you think, this question is for both of you, don't you think that if we have a true federalism where the center will handle only 4 issues and devolve the rest to the federating units? These 4 issues are foreign policy, currency, defense, and federal justice, if possible. Only 4 issues. And de-emphasize that leadership role, that role at the center, that presidency role. Make presidency very, very unattractive. Whatever you want to do, go to your state and do it in your state and build your state the way you want. If you can build university and let people in your state get admission into the university with 1% or 10%. That's your business. It will create effective competition, very effective and healthy competition among states. Any state that is not viable, that cannot make it, we team up with a more viable state after due referendum between the accepting and the requesting state. That is the only way we can move forward. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Guam. Dr. Kengu, Senator Abe, you may have your go.
All right.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Let me first of all express my appreciation to everyone for the opportunity and the privilege given to me to have this discussion with you, particularly to my fellow panelists, Dr. Emeka, whom I agreed with substantially, my brother Kat, whom I didn't agree with substantially, and everybody else. I just want to say a big thank you to you all. I think that the question that Dr. Guam has asked is, it's important. But, my understanding of true federalism, everybody keeps talking about, it's another phrase, just as we talk about restructuring and then true federalism. Federalism, which federalism is true? Federalism is federalism when it works and achieves the purposes for which it is about. We must not forget that the purpose of the modern nation state, because we have all agreed, at least in principle, that no one life is more important than another one. And so any modern nation state that is able to give the bulk of the people an opportunity to be the best version of themselves is the one that works. And anyone that is unable to do that is the one that is not working. So I believe that when you talk about words like true federalism and restructuring and all that, they end up as mere words, except they produce the happiness for you and your own family. As Dr. Emeka said, he said that the Nigeria of today appears to be working for only those who are in government. And that is not something you can throw away lightly, because the bulk of our citizens actually do feel left out in so many ways, you know, most of the time, because they don't have access to the instruments of power to address their own challenges. I believe that the country works when we are able to address the issues that matter to us all collectively and individually. Whatever word that we give to it doesn't matter so much. I don't believe that Nigeria will work better if the federal government were only to deal with currency and defense. That was the concept with which the European Union started out, as merely a trading union. But they found out that for them to be effective, the union kept encroaching and standardizing things up to the environment, up to to get that best for everybody needs a lot of sacrifice and contribution from everybody. And the way to do that is to create a system in which people actually understand what they are giving up and what they are getting. I think that that is the federalism that will be true for the majority of Nigerians. How we get to that stage will always be work in progress. But to start out by saying that if the federal government, you make the federal government unattractive, if you do that in such a manner that you now have the same problems back at the state and you end up still feeling left out, you're still excluded, you're still, it won't change the fact that the thing is now not called Federal Government of Nigeria. What happens to you as a Nigerian citizen in this generation, in the 21st century, is the sum total of what the state is about. That is one. Two, is for me to say that all of us must understand. People think that when you say some of these things, you're being sanctimonious, you are being unrealistic. Nigeria is a tribe and people must fight on the basis of tribe. No. Every concept that we enjoy today was once unpopular. People canvassed it, insisted on it, fought for it, and achieved it. Even the whole concept of equality of human beings, the world was not like that. When people started saying that, people thought they were crazy and it was not achievable. But today, everybody all over the world, if you say that people are not equal, you become a problem because everybody has agreed that people are equal. So I don't think that the fact that we're saying things today that people don't accept or people see as unrealistic in the context of present-day Nigeria means that we shouldn't say them if that is what we believe and if that is what we know will solve the problem. This is a discussion about ideas as how to make Nigeria better. No idea should be seen as too utopian or sanctimonious because some tribal, religious, or native instinct at the moment appears to be against it. The whole concept of success is how you overcome the difficulties and the challenges that are in your way to achieve what you believe in. I believe that whatever may be the challenges and difficulties in the way of present day Nigeria, if we come together and we can find enough people who believe in it, we will overwhelm those who don't believe in it because our ideas are right, not necessarily because everybody must agree before we do what is right. So thank you very much and God bless you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, distinguished Senator Abbey. We are very grateful to have you. And I like to believe that the next time we call on you for a program like this, you will do us the honor to be with us again. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Kingu, are you still with us? Okay, it doesn't look like Dr. Kingu is still here with us. Okay, Mr. Fagbemi, I was trying to pose a question to you earlier on. I'd like for you to have that question before we go back to Dr. Catch. As a nation, we have been bedeviled by the pandemic called corruption. Government after government have designed various means to eradicate this pandemic and have woefully failed. Now, what do you propose we do as a country to rid ourselves of this pandemic?
Thank you very much, Victor. Simply put, when you're discussing corruption, you are indirectly talking about, one, non-compliance with legal and policy frameworks. Two, the flip side of it is what is called the non-enforcement of the statutes and those legal and policy frameworks. And if and when people are discovered to have run foul of those legal and policy frameworks, are they confronted solely based on the dynamics of the letter and spirit of the legal and policy framework? The relabeling of malfeasance, of misconduct, of the non-compliance and the non-enforcement as corruption is why we are having the cyclical challenge and inability to address, and it has now become a pandemic that some people say is cancerous. The truth of the matter is, when you take a classical example, and the locus classicus that I will want to use to discuss this matter is the case of Citizen Ibrahim Magu. Citizen Ibrahim Magu was enlisted in the Nigerian police force. He rose to the rank of Assistant Commissioner of Police and had served in various capacities until he was asked to come and serve as acting chairman of EFCC, meaning therefore that he is subject to the Police Act, he is subject to the police service rules, and again subject to the public service rules. All these legal and policy frameworks do not allow him as a serving commissioned police officer to serve for more than a maximum period of 90 days in the first instance, and in the second cycle, another 90 days, 180. That is the maximum number of days he can ever serve in acting capacity. But unfortunately, that proviso that cuts across many legal and policy frameworks was jettisoned in such a manner that retained him in office. And the moment you start allowing for an illegality of illegal acts based on deliberate undermining of legal and policy frameworks, you are talking about corruption. The points that Dr. Catch has been trying to address and bring to our notice and our attention is called nepotism. When you go to the Code of Conduct, when you go to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you are not expected to operate based on the parameters of nepotism. You are not expected to populate public appointments and ministries, departments, and agencies by people from one particular sector. Federal character explains all that. So if you are looking for the silver bullet with which we will address the subject of corruption, which is beyond the malfeasance revolving around financial crimes and misappropriation of funds. Even that one, it has to do with, one, the breaches of laid down procedures of the financial regulations in public service, the laid down rules of accounting, the laid down rules of internal auditing. It comes back to only one thing. Do we know the laws? Do we understand the policies? Are we ready to comply with them? And when people act in breach of those laws and legal policy frameworks, are we interested in apprehending them and sanctioning them? The moment you do not sanction them, you are creating problems. Let me attempt to discuss it from the angle of financial crimes that all of us are very comfortable and we are quick to address. When you have funds appropriated by the legislative branch for a particular ministry, department, or agency, they always come in subheads. Before the money is released by the Ministry of Finance, there is what is called the authority to incur expenditure and cash backing that is done. Before you expend, you will have to go through the procurement procedures. It is only when you are acting in concert with others that you can breach several of these provisions and you end up being able to take out the money in a manner that will now come to the label of misappropriation and embezzlement. Unfortunately, when you look at some of the public service rules, you will see clearly if somebody acts in breach, there are supposed to be sanctions. When you are airing all the celebrated cases before EFCC, I doubt if you have ever seen the internal auditors brought to book. I doubt if you have ever seen the storekeeper or store manager or store officer of the MDA joined in most of these challenges. I doubt if you have seen a situation where the managers of the financial institutions have been brought to the fray as well. And these are the real issues. So if you want to solve it, we need to know the laws. If you want to know the laws, you have to make sure that the laws are available and you do not create complexities around crimes and criminalities that are so easy and have already been labeled and are always now being wrongly labeled. Once you have theft, and people were making jest of President Jonathan the other time when he was talking of it as in terms of theft. When you look at the simple procedure for investigating theft within the legal and policy frameworks, it's so easy. Once we can find the money with you, that means you stole it. It's so easy to prosecute. But we keep on wanting to use big words, call it corruption. When the cases were being tried of some of the malfeasance that boils down to misconduct, instead of labeling it that this person swore to an affidavit and the affidavit was found to be wrong, the simple label in law for it is called perjury. To try the case of perjury, they are still going to use the same materials at the end of the day. You would have found it easy to prosecute and get the sanction against that individual. We need to understand that we can only solve this problem when we have the laws being obeyed and complied with, and we come back to the level of education and the recruitment procedures for getting people in offices. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fagbemi. Dr. Kach, are you here with us? Dr. Kach? Dr. Kach, are you still here?
Yes, he's here. He's here.
I am here with you. You are the one that voted me. I've unmuted it now.
Okay, okay, Dr. Catch, thank you. Okay, Dr. Catch, I recall that growing up, back in primary school, I was taught civic education. Then at some point, it became social studies. And then at secondary school level, it became history. You would agree that as of today, in the curriculum of education in the country, history has been taken off our curriculum. What do you think informed this decision? Yes. And do you think it is proper that it should be taken off? Because if you randomly pick a 10-year-old boy today and ask him about Awolowo, he most likely would not know. But he can tell you about Bill Clinton. He can tell you about Winston Churchill. Do you not think that our past, which would actually lead us to building our tomorrow, is what we are losing?
Well, it's good that we're raising this. I must express something. I'm very happy. Your questions are well chosen, and they were a lot to our problems. History was removed by the same people who today do not want our young people to know the truth about Nigeria. Let me, as I said earlier, before the bandwidth thing came on, I have always taught in my GSA classes that Nigeria was colonized twice, over the Hausas by the Fulani who came from Yemen, and across all lands by the British. So when we had independence, the British left, but the Fulani stayed behind. They came here as a family, not as a nation. So there are a lot of things that our people do not know. And now, allowing that history to stay, you can see there is a kind of conquest of our country. Same people who want to subjugate Nigeria are the same ones who remove history from our syllabus. They don't want our young people to know the truth. So that's why I'm saying, somebody told me happy independence. I think independence of what? Nothing to be happy about. You need to understand, until we come together to take back our country, a lot will be lost to us. We cannot bring it back. Those who have currently seized the country, but are now trying to ethnically cleanse us of national institutions, federal parastatals, of the lands, as you see in the north, states like Plateau, states like Taraba, states like Zamfara, Katsina, Sokoto, are the same ones who are doing this. But of course, a lot of our elites are afraid to speak. And when we talk about this thing actively, you see my brother Emeka telling you about desertification in the Sahel region. This is not the game. The Sahel have issues. Yes, the people still live in Chad. There are people still in Sudan. Our crisis locally is the ability of a lot of our elite to keep quiet for fear. Fear of who? Now society is being destroyed. History is removed from the curriculum of our schools. They are doing more. Who are these people doing it? Why don't we have the brother? There will be no country left for our country. History should be returned. I have been on a campaign for this. I have gone around to go and seek why it was removed, and I have found one. I've complained to a lot of the leaders, but I know we cannot set this country, as Senator Magnus said, the concept that we wish to also be there. There is a particular ethnicity who, since the British left, are angry and want to seize our country. You can see it koro in your eyes. The Yorubas who went to political alliance with them ran out when they saw something inside. That was why they formed Amoteku. The others who have no words, I grew here in the north. I am a Nigerian, and I'm very, very angry about how things are happening. Why are we keeping quiet? Let us simply build a national consensus to take back our country. There might be none. If we keep quiet, my brother, what happened in the Central African Republic will happen here. Because when people are so angry as to start now setting up their own separatist movements, my brother, the country is going. Why is it that one single ethnicity wants to cleanse others of federal parastatals, wants to cleanse houses of ethnic lands, wants to clean 58 villages in Plateau, specifically Jos South, Riom, and Barkin Ladi, of the people. And now the people are in IDP camp, whereas refugees from Mali are occupying their villages. Governor Zulum wants to bring back people. They want to take him back. You can see in Kaduna the crisis we have. So our country has been under attack, but we kept quiet because a lot of us in the South don't actually understand the North. So those of us who understand it are trying to bring knowledge to a vast area of Nigerians so that we will be able to. The reasons I said earlier, I don't believe in separatist movement is because for us to be able to secure Nigeria and conceptualize that our dream is we need to build a larger national consensus. Nobody can do this alone. You need more Nigerians to come together into one platform. You can't do it alone. I don't believe in the separatism. No, you need to build a national consensus to be able to defeat the last remaining colonial masters before we can take back our country. Design it in a way that it could be inclusive. I, as a child, I grew there as a child. I speak Hausa, I speak Fulfulde today. Of course, I speak other languages. And that's why I feel like a Nigerian. I live in the North. Why would I now go back to the villages where I school and I see that the indigenous people have been ethnically cleansed and I will keep quiet? It will not be. So let us build a consensus with other Nigerians to please stop this problem. As I said earlier, to question Senator Magnus say he doesn't agree, I restate it. Nigeria has a Fulani problem. It is only the Fulani that are cleansing other people off land. It is only them that are removing others from parastatus and trying to put only their own people or small people that they can control. Look at it. And now suddenly you have the younger ones who cannot listen to what we, the elderly ones, are saying that they're starting separatist organizations. And I can bet you, we don't have control over the young ones who are now forming separatist organizations across the country. Separatist movements are not being moved by the elderly. No, it is the younger ones who do not agree with the way we've allowed our docility to undermine their ability to inherit a country tomorrow. So they said, if there is no country for them to inherit, they rather start going their own ways. And I tell you today, President Buhari, more than any other person in Nigeria's history, is the biggest provider of the fuel for this separatist movement across Nigeria. So we need to stand up, come together, and tell the man, so okay, your actions are dividing our country. The VP tried to say it politely, cracks in the country is going to cause the country to go. The NCF has said it politely, cracks in the country is going to cause the country to go. How do we do this? We cannot keep quiet. It has reached the point where we must come together today and confront that crisis that we have. And we have that crisis, it's a Fulani crisis. Yes, I may not be in government, so I have freedom to speak. But even if when I was in government, my brother, I will say what I have seen. Our country needs to be redeemed. And if we can redeem Nigeria, we'll be able to save the subcontinent. We'll be able to save the sub-Saharan Africa. The earlier we rise up, come together, the better we can stay to save Nigeria. If not, what is happening in Kaduna is a child's play. What is happening in Jos is a child's play. Look at today in Newman, in Bachama, the Bachama are being cleansed. Today, look at, Shetima, Governor Shetima, I told him this one-on-one. I said, oh boy, you don't know what's going on. Shetima played the fool in Borno. Today, Zulum has come and has seen the writing, said, no, I won't play the fool anymore. I want to return the people back to their ancestral lands. Why are Nigerians being cleansed of their lands? And it is now foreigners from Central African Republic and Mali that are existing in that land, and we're not doing anything. This is the same reason. The people who remove history from our school curriculum are the same people doing this ethnic cleansing. So in principle, we got independence when the British left, but no, it was only the South. Because we're colonized twice, the other colonial masters still in country are now seeking to seize the country, subjugate us, but of course, we will not agree because historically, we defeated the slave trade, we survived it. We will survive this one because if we're able to organize for the British to leave, we can also organize for the Fulani to leave our country for us to possess. If we do not have that courage to come together and challenge them, my brother, these issues will just damage all of us. I know this, and that's why I'm very, very angry. I have seen it. 12 years I've been on television talking about this of my Fulani monologue. This is the problem. I work with President Yar'Adua. I heard him. I work with Goodluck. I heard him. And I understand this. Today I'm working with President Obasanjo. He has come over to understand what I'm saying. And he agrees there is a Fulanization campaign. It is not a religious campaign. No. It is an ethnic drive by them. If not, me as a young man here in the north, I've never seen Fulani kill Hausa. Why is it today happening in Kankara? Why is it today happening in Basari? I believe we should do things as Nigerians. We should carry everybody along. I believe as an Igbo, it is not right for me to keep quiet when houses are being cleansed of Katsina, of Sokoto, of Zamfara. I'm being pushed into Kano because there are 4 core Hausa states in Nigeria: Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, and Kano. So if they are being cleansed from the 3 and only being allowed to enter Kano, something is wrong. If 58 villages are being cleansed in Barkin Ladi, in Rio, and just south, we can keep quiet. If the Benue people have come together to take back, that's because they came together. We need to find some way to save those being killed in Kaduna. I went to a place called Pandagari. At the back of it, behind Biriningwari and Alawa, I got to a place called Dogongona. I saw Fulani bandits. The great is, they don't speak Hausa, these Fulani bandits. They speak Bambara. Bambara is spoken amongst the wall of area. Why is this like this? We should not allow this. The earlier we come together using this independence as a mark of date to come together, I'm happy now. Tinubu have seen that there is no road where he's going to. That's why you saw it was easy for Beda Bianila to work with us using my television clips to convince members that, look, this water bill will not shine. They removed it, and I was happy. On Monday, I will go to the House of Reps at the National Assembly, and they will honor me. But then that's not where it should stop. We must come together to take back our country. We should not waste our time. Nigeria has a Fulani problem. If not, stories about countries like Turkey will be a child's play. Please, we are now back to where Central African Republic was 10 years ago. This is the problem, and we should not pretend about it. The House has suffered most than anyone else. As I'm talking to you today, no single Hausa man is minister under Buhari's government. Apart from the states of states like Borno, Yobe, Kwara, Benue, Plateau, and Niger. All the other states in the north and FCT all have Fulani ministers. You see why they spread themselves? You see why Buhari was looking to do his grazing policy in all the states so that tomorrow, later on, they will now bring them all from all those places. And before you know it, with indigenous people will be nowhere. How come no single Hausa man today is minister in Buhari's government? Investigate and see. So there is an ethnic agenda, not a religious agenda. And this is where the problem is. I beg you, we should all work together to create a country that is inclusive of the aspirations and rights of everybody. And I believe that we can save our country from going the way that others have gone. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Koch. Very passionate, as always. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for your patience and for joining this platform to have this discourse. At this point now, we'd have the Q&A session. So if you have any questions to ask of the panelists, you signify by raising up your hands. You'll be recognized, and then you ask your question. This session would not take more than 5 minutes, so we're just going to have very few questions. So, Dr. Graham, I can see your hand up, so please ask your question.
Thank you very much. You see, I'm persuaded by Dr. Kachi's eloquence on this particular issue. You know, I think we should listen more to people like Dr. Kachi, you know, who do not want to sound politically correct, who just speak the truth, than listening to those who sound politically correct because of politics. You know, but where I'm a bit confused in Dr. Kachi's place is, how do we create that consensus that will take Nigeria out of the fold or the Fulanese? How do we do that? He said we should create a consensus. How do we do that? Is it, you know, I'm a bit confused. Can you please enlighten me how to create the consensus?
Dr. Kachi, did you get the question?
Yes, I got the question.
Okay, thank you.
For the past 4 years, I have been working behind the scene with President Obasanjo and General Danjuma. And that's because they were able to see the game. When I did 8 debates against Lai Mohammed, PDP versus APC, Tinubu tried to call me to Lagos and went there, and he asked me to join him. I said, I would not join you because where you're going to, there's no road. Today, after he's been used and trashed, Tinubu now calls me. So I believe that consensus normally will come when you're talking to people who, due to history, because historically, humanity only learns through experience. Tinubu has now learned. Now that he's learned, it's easy to recover people like that. That's why I tell people, don't you give up on anybody. And if once you see the Igbo and the Yoruba team up, the rest of the South will come up. It took time for people like Jeremiah Yozenia and others. When they saw and believed it, this game is no more. I was speaking to someone like Jan. You see, unity is very important. We told Jan, give up the governorship to Plateau South. That way you'll be able to bring the Taruk. Because you can't win if you walk alone. If you understand the story of the what's this called? The Mambila, the Adamawa Highlands. You will know that the tribes were fighting among themselves. That was why the Fulani came in. But when you see that in Kademborono, they were tightly together, they couldn't come in. We need to now start to talk to ourselves. Don't think that you can do it alone. And that's why I repeat now, the game about thinking you can do it alone, doing Biafra, doing Oduduwa, no. Build a national consensus. First, to retrieve the country off their hands. The Fulani are real. They are not joking. If you check all this, me and you, when we grew up as children, we used to think everybody in the North was Ndausa, but it's not true. The North is an incredibly heterogeneous society. So, and because I knew that growing here, I know the differences. And that's why when I speak on television, I take the pose of a Hausa boy, trying to speak for them, not for me, not for other people. And this has worked. So let us now see the other Nigerians as brothers. I believe in Nigeria. I believe that why should I be confined to take a shot of brandy when I can own the entire bottle? And that's why I think these things make sense. So let's not close our hearts. The Igbos and the Yorubas must come together. Now that Tinubu has been crushed, it's the easiest time to get it. Because among all Yoruba leaders, only him has still been the outline. Obasanjo is already working with us. So let us do this kind of things. Jan has agreed to work with the people in Plateau South. And that was why, because if he had agreed to leave that power there, instead of trying to put his cousin, Plateau wouldn't have been lost to the APC. And of course, Lalong being an Angwe is weak. And you can see that game. But that's different from Otong, who a TV saw the crisis and came back in. Close rank with the Doma, close rank with Ikede, close rank with the Agatu. Before you knew it, Breno was tight. And that's why you saw they were able to save themselves. Because the minute you make mistake and prevaricate, like Umahi is doing in Ebony, the people are very audacious. They move in. They are audacious. Check their history. They are audacious. They will move in. And before you know it, you've been overswamped. And that's why I'm not happy at what's going on in Ebony. Why? Umahi's prevarication has turned Ebony into the place for the Trojan horse. They will come in, check the history. Check the history. Check Jos. I grew up in Jos as a child. When after the Civil War, it was the British in Jubilee all over. The Birom had been moved to Zawan since 1910 by the British. So, but gradually, Fulanis who were only staying at a place called Tede Solani on the Toro Road, today, they are now fighting to cleanse Biroms of Barkin Ladi, of Riyom and Jos South. This is the game. Look at Kaduna. From nowhere, Nigerians have been cleansed of the entire areas where the baggies are. The Adara are being cleansed in Kajuru and elsewhere. We can't keep quiet because today, what some people will fall, the next day, our villages will become problem. So let us not joke, I beg you. This is not the time for grammar. Let us now form unity. Unite. I still know once the Igbo and the Yoruba unite, others will join. I thank President Goodluck every day for making it possible for the old Eastern region to come back together to unite. Now the next thing is that old Eastern region that has now secured the Edo, the old Midwest with them through the last election in Edo, should now move in to align with the Yorubas. That is not difficult to see. No Yoruba man has any strength at their Papa Wharf. Who dominates their MPA? The same people. How come you have water and you cannot run the ports? The British and the Portuguese and the Igbos came to Lagos because of the depth of the Papa Keys. That's the truth. So let us now work together. If we work together, we can then secure the country. But don't also forget, the biggest people that lose, that suffer in this country today are the Hausas. So we must show them empathy and work to save them. Today, as I speak to you, no Hausa man is anywhere in Hausa land. None is minister in Buhari's government. And their home is home to the largest concentration of children without access to formal education than anywhere else on earth. In a democracy, you need education for you to actually have that logistics to compete in a competitive environment built around merit. If they don't have it, they are dead. The PDP designed the program that the Hausa boys will be removed from the streets, be put into those 159 schools. Buhari removed them from the streets, didn't put them into the schools. The schools are destroyed because if they don't have access to education, they don't have the tools necessary to compete in a market system built on merit. So these people know what they're doing. They remove history from our curriculum. Now they are moving to try to subjugate our land, remove our people, cleanse. Igbos don't more exist on the top echelon of the security services. Igbos don't even exist when you post policemen. This would be done gradually from 5%. It is now the entire country that is under this cleansing program. So ethnic cleansing is real. Those are being cleaned from land, others are being cleansed off federal parastatals, off national institutions. We can't keep quiet, my brother. This is the time for us now to come together, my brothers. I beg you. I beg you.
My question is not fully answered, though. Hello, please, Dr.
Sorry.
You said, how do we now build that unity?
Yeah.
That is what I'm telling you. Forgive
Dr.
the past,
can I?
forgive the past, and then build unity. Don't, because of your anger of the past, say that you cannot work with him. No. Most people did what they did because they did not know. That is just the truth. That's why I'm telling you.
Dr. Kashi, please, let me continue. Let me just ask the same question again.
Please do.
It's not fully answered. Hope you don't mind, Mr. Moderator. Dr. Kashi, I'm just wondering, how the Hausa man will leave the Fulani man he has been with for centuries and now merge with an Igbo man he does not know that he's so scared of, or a Yoruba man to fight the same Fulani. I'm just wondering, is that possible? How do we do it? It is not something we do over 20, 30 years. It's something that you have to win confidences here and there.
It's not true. You are wrong. The Hausa man has not been with the Fulani man because the Fulani refuse to assimilate themselves into the Hausa society. Today, Fulanis don't marry Hausas. It's only Hausas that want to marry Fulani women. Fulani would rather marry themselves. That's just the truth. So I am a Northerner, so I understand the North. The Hausa man is still regarded as in inquiry or in India an untouchable. They don't. That's why. So, and they've been subjugated. And if you understand history, any society established through the shedding of blood to maintain control, you need to be ready to shed more blood. And that's why you see the Fulani violence towards the Hausa. So out of fear, they became docile. Not that they're included in what's going on. No, that's not true. That's not true. The democracy has also served over time to show people with population that they can actually own their areas in places like Taraba, Nasarawa, Benue, Plateau, and then you see new threats, and then the people try to assert their right over their land. So population is the game in this business. Once you have population, people see things, my brother. Today, as I'm talking to you, Hausas in Katsina, Zamfara, and Sokoto formed their own vigilantes called Yansakai. Yansakai. Do your investigations. And that's, I was there with them last week in Katsina. And they were consistently going from village to village looking for informers because they believe there are Hausas who also act as informers to these bandits. They were taking them out physically. They were doing that. I saw that with my eyes. We in the South don't know what goes on in the North. So we need to find a way. And that's why You don't enter the bush and want to kill all animals. No. There are animals that are long. There are normal ones that have 4 legs. Don't just go to the bush and say all the animals. That's wrong. And that's why most of us in the South made a mistake calling everybody from Kogi down to Sokoto as Ndawusa. It's not true. The North is a very heterogeneous society. There are different people, and their problems are different.
Thank you, Dr. Kach. Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Bat Akelemo, I've kept you waiting, but that's because I needed for Dr. Kach to anchor his point. So, Mr. Bat Akelemo, you might want to ask a question now, please.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My question is actually directed to Dr. Ononiju, Dr. Kach. First, he's passionately highlighted very salient points. He has diagnosed what the real problems are. However, as a nation, as a people, for what we'll be going through, we need workable solutions. I'm going to ask him, really, beyond just diagnosing the problems, what are the real solutions? How do we rescue Nigeria? There's a school of thought, I believe, without a civic revolution, that is required to change the situation, without mobilizing the people and coming to the street like happened in China and in other places, there will never be a solution. So I'm asking Dr. Kach, from his knowledge, from being in the system, what does he think is the role of the commoner, and how do we mobilize the hungry masses who are so disillusioned and cannot even participate in election to change our dynamics and our situation? Thank you.
Thank you very much. The issue of rescue is still, as I said before, again, based on planning. Now that we have found out what the problem is, we don't need to rescue Nigeria. Don't make the mistake of being what the old Southerners used to be, blaming everybody in the North. No, everybody in the North is not your enemy. Our enemy is just that whom, after the British left, felt that they still own Nigeria. They were playing with us. They were okay under the military. They were okay under the colonial period. But when we now came into democracy, their problem was they do not have numbers. They don't have numbers to sustain the previous advantages that they had. And that's why you see them now trying to use violence to seize country. If you've read the histories of countries like Turkey, you will understand. There is nowhere in the world where any group has tended to dominate a society that society has not broken it down. That's why the words of the vice president and that of the secretary of the government are true. Any society, take history, where one society tries to dominate, it has always ended up breaking. So the fact that Nigeria is heading towards a breaking is true. And it is simply through that action of one single ethnicity who originally came from Yemen. When they came from Yemen, they were not allowed to stay in Borno by the Kanuri. They were driven away from Futatoro by the Mande. They were driven away from Futajalon by the Mandinka. The Mandinka are the tribes of Kunta Kinte. Only the Hausa gave them a place to stay in a place called Gober. The latter seized Gober, killed the king, and renamed the Sokoto. All that period till now, this is the first time Nigerians are able in the north to not try to assert themselves. Why? Democracy is a game of now. So our solution is like I'm telling you now. We in the south must forgive the north and believe that the whole of the north are not guilty. No. A lot of people in the north are suffering more than we in the south are suffering. So let us work towards building consensus with them, and it's already happening. The people in the North Central have broken out, led by Jeremiah Zeni, to say that they are forming North Central People's Assembly. You go and play with them. The people like the Yorubas have seen, Obasanjo and other Chief Adebanjo, them were out there campaigning. Tinubu has finally seen him being used and trashed. And I told him this. I said Afonja was used and trashed. Awolowo was used and was not given what he was promised. Abella refused and don't. What will make you different? Today he has seen that. And that's why it was easy for his acolyte at National Assembly, like Bajabi and Miller, to now work with us to trash that water bill. And of course, people are some of those people are angry. Water bill is promoted in the House by 3 Fulani legislators. So let us now, don't give up the mindset that we'll be able to work together. My brother, it is possible. Don't break the country. Work to build consensus with everybody who have now seen that this thing is not workable. Why allow one single ethnicity to cleanse all of us from our lands, cleanse a lot of us off our statutorily mandated right of occupying federal agencies, and then you say you're doing nepotism? No. All successive societies on earth have been built on the rule of law. So why can't our own society be built on the rule of law? And this is the problem. But no, look at the rush he's doing. Everywhere he's putting people. We don't need to speak grammar. That's why you see, I don't want to be correct. I want to speak the truth. Because when I know where you hear the truth, you will all stand up. This is the reason why Soyinka and others formed the fraternity. And I kept saying, let us live up to the reason for the fraternity foundation. It's for a time like now. Now you can come together. No matter how many things that have made mistake before. Telling my brother, now that your eyes are open, let us work together. Look at me now, I talk to President Obasanjo, I talk to Zuma, and I feel comfortable. Even though if I want to think about their past, I would never want to talk to them. But I knew they didn't know better when they did what they did. Obasanjo said, if an old man makes a mistake, give him the chance to repair that mistake. So he is a very good partner in this, our urgency to do what? To repair the country. I beg you, let us not give up on the ability to work with each other. Take it from me. Everybody in the North are frustrated. Take a look at that. If the Kanuri, they had always worked with them, now a Kanuri governor is saying, no, I want to return my people back to their ancestral lands. And you can see they are not challenging him. Imagine what will happen if Governor Landon also say he wants to return the IDPs back to the ancestral villages. You see that?
Yeah, Dr. Kacha, I would say very big.
To have that open heart to be able to convince the man. Look,
Dr. Kacha, can you hear me?
I forget the past. Let us work together. Because when we work together, my brother, we will win back Nigeria. There's no need to break it. We know this problem. I cannot be afraid. Let us work together and secure our country so that we can give something for the next generation and not allow them to get frustrated. Then we will start thinking about separatism. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kach. Thank you so very much. I'm going to take 2 more questions only, and then we'll wrap up the program for the day. Amara, your hands have been up. So if you're still...
Victor,
hello.
Victor,
yes. Okay. Yeah, I have a question for Dr. Kach, and I'm sorry to kind of still be on this topic, but I feel like a lot of things he said is still quite abstract. So what does that actually mean for the average young Nigerian who's pretty much, stuck in the system? I mean, you're talking about working together, but what does that actually mean in real concrete terms? Like, what do we need to do moving forward? Like, starting with education, what needs to happen, and in real terms? Because if you're talking in abstract ways, like, I mean, it still stays that way, and it's really difficult to think about how that could be put, streamlined in reality, right? So for the average person, for example, me, like, what does that actually mean, and what can I start doing? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, sorry, Dr. Kach, before you respond, I'd like for Mr. Fagbemi to attempt a response at this question, then you would cap it up. So, Mr. Fagbemi, could you please respond to the question Amara just posed?
Actually, I was going to attempt, thank you, Victor, I was going to attempt to address some of the issues that were directed at Dr. Kach and to help us appreciate the challenge that we are having and the inability to safely comprehend what Dr. Kach is putting on the table. The challenge started off with the fact that when we started the discussion, we were not able to safely establish the theoretical basis of what we were discussing. And the theoretical basis, there is a philosophy, there is a psychology, and there's a sociology and the etymology. colonization, and the future of Nigeria. And that is why when you say there is expected to be an antithesis at every stage, you are saying that there will always be contestations, and the contestations will help you to redefine, as it were, the way forward and provide you a synthesis. And that synthesis, if you are looking at it from another school of thought, becomes a substructure, a new structure that you are building. And after you have a new structure, you ultimately will have a superstructure. And that superstructure, if you contend again with some new forces, will end up creating and serving as the base for another structure that will become the superstructure and continue like that. We must never forget the fact that the points that Dr. Katch is trying to bring to the table, which all of us agree with, is that there is what is called historic revisionism. Historic revisionism is based on the notion of strategic desensitization. And how do you do strategic desensitization? They want to make you and me believe that some of these issues that we are going to be discussing and we are seeing as manifestations that must be squarely addressed are not important. And if we say they are important, they begin to make us feel that you are not politically correct and you are antagonistic. And that is what we are dealing with. For the observant ones, when you look at the logo that is being used to celebrate today's independence anniversary, you will see 60 years together. But when you interrogate it properly, like some of us have had to do, it is 60 years to get A. 60 years for the Fulani to get A the way they originally wanted when the amalgamation was done in 1914. It is not that some of us wanted to be speaking big English, as it were. It is that we wanted to be systematic and structured in our approach. I know the pains Dr. Katch is going through, that he is trying to wear so many caps at the same time and wanting to churn out a number of data simultaneously. If these people are saying 60 years to get where we wanted and how we want it, it means that if we are discussing the matter, we need to now say what are the elements of the antithesis that we are dealing with. You have the political dimension, you have the legal dimension, you have the judicial component, you have the social-cultural component, and that is what we are talking about when you look at what is happening even to Kano that he has mentioned. That is why you ended up having the deposition of incumbent emir who was becoming too objective for their liking. We may not like Sanusi as it were, as an individual, knowing some of his antecedents, but the truth is that he started talking in a manner that was antithetical to what they wanted to achieve, and it was no longer needed. They got rid of him. And the truth of it, in terms of the question that this honorable lady asked, she wanted to say, what are the things that we need to begin to do in concrete terms? We are about achieving a constitutional review within the ambits of what is permissible under the current dispensation. Some of us do not believe that we should rely on the National Assembly, but since that's what they want to do, the first thing some of us will say is that we need to put a caveat in the Constitution, introduce a new element that abrogates and annuls every amalgamation instrument that brought us to where we are, until you annul and abrogate and dissolve and make of no consequence and effect all the treaties that culminated in the amalgamation instrument of 1914. we will still keep on dealing with the internal colonization that Dr. Katch has been trying to bring onto the table. The next thing is that we must introduce into the constitutional framework the clause that allows us to have referendum to discuss issues of national concern, and not just that a few elites that are representing the political class and not necessarily the citizens are the ones that will ultimately decide it. The sovereignty lies with the people, so we must make the sovereignty of the people count. The next point that we must decide on as a way forward is to ensure that we reintegrate into the scheme of things what is called national reorientation and strategic rebirth of the Nigerian nation for nation building. It is good to talk and associate with the likes of Obasanjo, T.Y. Danjuma, to relate with Husseini, but you will discover that these are part and parcel of the problem. And at every strategic point when they get to a level, if we do not stay within a defined and definite structure of the way forward, these people will break ranks. And how did the Yorubas under Tinubu associate themselves with the Fulanis? It was simple. Some people had told somebody that, okay, you cannot achieve this, and they said, okay, we will become relevant. When they decided to chalk out Patricia Ete, the Yoruba person that was made speaker, and they removed that one, and again, all those other dynamics occurred, it was clear that they needed to show that we can rearrange the politics of this era. So, answering the question again, simply the way forward, we must do a lot of political socialization and re-engineering of the Nigerian state. We must do a lot of restructuring of our minds, of our academic system, so that we can begin to interrogate things clearly and deeply, and ensure that the theoretical basis of most of our discussions are robust and strong. If we do not do that, when you start bringing the ingredients like Dr. Couch has successfully done today, we will not be able to locate it. And that is why we're having the problems. When you look at the Sahara issue, for those of us in my field of interest security, it is called the Sahara conflict and violence system. They have impact, yes, but you have to come back and say, what at the level of the octagonal? Let us take the legal. You are talking about small arms and light weapons that are being used to kill people every day. I challenge any of us to give me any case law where you have the markings on the firearms that was utilized in some of the crimes presented in the law courts. Every day the media goes to the command headquarters at the state command level, requesting that, oh, the citizens should know that we have caught these people and we retrieve social number of arms. Each
thank you, Dr. Mr. Fagbemi.
So that they come from a particular place, and if you are doing investigation, you are going to trace it back, and you will be able to determine whether these arms actually emanated from the armory of the Nigerian state. The last time we conducted firearms audit, some of us are aware of it, and we've not been able to do any firearms audit. Until we do firearms audit and obey the provisions of the law, we are not making any progress.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fagbemi. Thank you for your thoughts. Dr. Katch, I'd like to put in perspective the question Amara just posed, which Mr. Fagbemi had attempted to answer. Now, what I think, in my view, she was asking is practical steps at reclaiming the nation, as from the Hawks, as you have stated. What do we need to do, step-by-step action plan on how we can possibly reclaim this nation? I think that's what Amara is really interested in.
Number one, organize. I am only using my words to sensitize. The logical steps after you have been convinced from the sensitization is you start organizing in small units. I'm not going to be the one to organize for you. Today in Lagos, Yorubas are organizing. That organization sends signal. What you will hear is Yorubas organizing, joining the Igbos who have been organizing long before now. Very soon, you'll see people organizing everywhere. And as they organize, we'll then be able to put our heads together. When we build that consensus, that is what you need to stop the devil. No society, no power consists without demand. So start your demanding through organizing. If you really, truly want to reclaim the country, organize. From your organizations, a lot of things that I will not tell you will come. So that's all I can say. I can't say all in public, but start organizing. And it's easy to see people who are organizing. Today, Yorubas are displaying in Lagos their organization. It starts small, then it grows. Now people are organizing. The Middle Belt is also organizing. That's the first thing you do. You organize. When you agree with the narratives, that means you're sensitized by the narrative. You start to organize. From organizing, humanity has a capacity to, when they organize, bring us solutions to solve their problems. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Let your organizing be the reasons and the catalyst for you to find solutions on how to meet or how to now combine your efforts with people all over the place. But I will not tell you what will be in the content of your discussions, but start organizing. That's how people get free. Once you sensitize and you want to be free, you start organizing. From organizing, a lot will come in. Different people will bring different ideas on how to now progress the unity of purpose. The rest, they say, will be history. That's the best I can tell you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kach. Always a pleasure to have you and always a pleasure to listen to you. I'd like to also thank Mr. Ayokunle Fagbemi. Mr. Fagbemi has always been available to us whenever we have called for his presence to talk about national issues. He's been very insightful, just as Dr. Kach, Dr. Emeka Okengu, and Senator Abe have all done today. We thank you all very much for giving us this day. We have taken the whole day from you, but we are grateful. We're sure, we believe that the next time we call on you, you will be here to talk to Nigeria. Nigeria is our country. We do not have any other place to call home. This is the only home that we have, and together we must salvage this home. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being part of this program today. We are grateful for your presence. We'll call you again some other time to be with us. We trust you will be with us. Thank you for your time, and thank you for all that, all those who have made contributions and asked questions towards this program. We thank Rockies Deck. We thank the National Association of Seadogs. At this juncture, I'd like to call on the program director of Rockies Deck to offer thanks.
Yes, so the Mr. Vincent Ogbudibe will be giving the vote of thanks on behalf of the project director of Rockies Deck. Mr. Vincent, please.
Good morning and good afternoon, everybody, depending on which part of the globe you are. First and foremost, Victor, I'd like to start with you. You've been wonderful today, conducting these proceedings. I'm also standing on the existing protocols to thank Dr. Kachi Ononuju, Ayokunle Fagbemi, Dr. Mecca, and Dr. Abe, who's left already. It's been a wonderful and engaging session for us, and I'm sure all of us will take something away from here. So on behalf of the National Association of Seadogs in Western Canada, Rockies Deck, I thank our brothers in Nigeria, the Abuja chapter, that is Zuma Deck, for anchoring this with us. This wouldn't have been possible without them. And then thank everybody who's been here for the past 3 hours or more to make this a huge success. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vincent. I'd like to also welcome the Captain of Zuma deck to have a word or two for us, please. Mr. Kolawole Anderson Ose.
Thank you very much, Victor Kiriko. I must also like to thank all the discussants for a wonderful job done. I also like to thank the NAS Capone for being part of this exercise, this activity. In fact, since the National Executive under its leadership came on board, we have been having so many robust discussions like this across all the desks of the flagship. Topical issues are being raised. Himself, he has been in the forefront in handling topical issues, especially with the proposals for social amendment, which is championing. I want to thank him for giving the good direction to the flagship of National Association of Seadogs. I want to thank all those who took out time to be present for the last 3 hours to be here. I want to thank the captain of Rockies deck and his team for teaming up with Zuma deck to put this wonderful Independence Day lecture together. It's my hope that in the very near future, we'll do more to tackle issues as it affects the country, Nigeria, because that is what the National Association of Seadogs is all about: advocacy, looking at problems in society and thinking out solutions, how we can help solve them so that the citizens of this great country, Nigeria, can have a better place to stay. So thank you very much, everyone, again. God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson Kolawole Ose. At this juncture, I'd like to also call on Dr. Randy. Dr. Randy to give us a word or two, please. Dr. Randy, are you with us?
Dr. Randy, could you please unmute yourself, please? Okay, good.
Yeah, I say good day, everyone, and especially good morning from Canada. I would like to thank all the participants and all the discussants. Victor, who has done a very good job of moderating this panel. Nigeria as a country is facing a very big problem right now. The country is highly fractured and disunited. There is no better time to talk about the unity of Nigeria than now. And I express my gratitude to the panel discussants, Dr. Kaj, Senator Abe, and others. They have done justice to this. It is no doubt that we need to organize to do something about the unity of Nigeria and its prosperity. For me, I believe that Nigeria strayed from the part of the structure which it used to have when the independence came. Nigeria was destructured by the military, especially Aguiyi Ironsi and General Gowon. The structure we used to have before and the structure that worked perfectly well for Nigeria was regional government. And that was, yeah, that's regional government. I really believe that the time has come when we have to develop a political party ideology, that a political party in Nigeria will come out and have its ideology as restructuring to true federalism. I think that most of the problems of Nigeria will be solved if each region addresses its own problems, solves its own problems, raises its own capitals, and develops at its own pace. And of course, the people of each region will be challenged to make their region the best. And when this happens, there will be healthy competition among the regions. And the country as a whole will still be united at the center. The ethnic distrust and religious distrust and all these other problems will go away. So I thank all the discussants, and I think, like Dr. Kach says, it is time for all of us to get involved to do something about this. We can no longer be complacent. We can no longer be sitting and watching. We can no longer do this sit-down look. I thank you all. Thank you from Canada.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Randy. At this juncture, I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone for your patience. We are about rounding up now, so we would have to, would love to have a closed session. I need to confirm if Mr. Abiola Owaja is still with us, and if you would have a word or two for us, please. Mr. Bello, can you confirm that for me, please?
I do not think he's still with us. I think.
No, he's not.
Just
okay. Okay.
Yes, I can't find him here right now.
Okay, so as it is, he's left us. So at this juncture, I'd like to bring this program to a close. I haven't taken the vote of thanks from the Zuma Kapun, the Rockies Kapun, and the Rockies second mate representatives. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We'll do this again sometime. Happy Independence Day to every one of us. Happy Independence Day, Nigeria.
Victor.